What's up, guys? This is Hyce. Welcome to office hours for November of 2023. We'll get back to not spicy new songisms. I literally just finished the bass for that like 5 minutes before I jumped in here, if that. So there were a couple out notes that I've yet to deal with digitally because I masquerade as an upright bass player rather than actually play the upright bass. So it's fine. Anyway, as is typical here, we are doing Railroad Q&A on this day, even with a microphone that's not aimed at my face. I've got a bunch of questions that you guys have asked. We had a new post because I only had like 6 left or something. So we're going to be going through the last that we had and then getting into the new questions. And then, of course, as always, Mick's going to be in chat watching for your questions as well. So good stuffs, good things. Official Dean RGW. Carl's drunk and late again. We should bandage him to the RGS. He'll fit right in 2 months. 2 months to go to the 10 years. Yeah. Thank you, friend. 10 years? 1 year. That's how that works. And yes, we should send Carl to the RGS. Without further ado, looks like we've got Midland and Mick in Discord. Say hello, friends. Or they're not here. It's a surprise.
Hi.
There's Anyway, without further ado, I've got 11 pages. These ones go to 11 of questions here for us to go through. So we're gonna start with those. Ian Ramsey, I have a question about the rules and regulations of locomotive boilers in the US. Here in Sweden, from what you've understood, you don't have any set periods of usage. Instead, you have annual inspections. All right. You ready, folks? It depends. Drink. Okay. So if you are FRA regulated, Federal Railroad Administration, that is most railroads. That is most every railroad in the United States. You fall under the regulations that are in 49 CFR Part 230. So that is specific to steam locomotive maintenance and inspections. You have a 31-day required inspection for boiler washing. You have a 92-day inspection. You have an annual inspection. And then you have the 1,472-day inspection, which is 4 years of straight service or 15 years, whichever comes first. And there's some nuances to that, but those are the inspection intervals. So we have that rebuild mandatory where you yank the tubes out, do an interior inspection of the boiler every 15 years. For locomotives that don't get a lot of service, sometimes the FRA will give a waiver. There's also ways where you can pull the tubes and not the flues. That's how engines like Santa Fe 3415 still have flues from the Santa Fe in them because you pulled all the tubes out. You can inspect the whole barrel, verify everything's good. They were able to UT the flues in enough places to satisfy the FRA. So they didn't replace the flues, they just replaced the tubes. So if you're getting less service, you could do that sort of thing. But either way, we've got that big 15-year rebuild for FRA things. If you're not governed by the FRA, you fall under what state you are operating in and their own regs, which can be all over the place. That is just a fun joy to figure out. Sometimes it's very simple. Sometimes it falls under other things, like Ohio tries to consider everybody an amusement park if you're not under FRA because you're an attraction there. Other states have different things like that. So it gets a little muggy there, but if you've got a public grade crossing or you cover or you go over a public road or highway or waterway with the railroad on a bridge or whatever, your FRA, you have to deal with all that stuff. So that's all of the stuff for the US. So that should hopefully compare a little difference from what Sweden is to the US. Anyway, it looks like we got a couple top chats coming in. Grateful Led, my friend. Evening, boys. You're just stopping by to say hello before I go to bed. So hello and good night. Your mornings start early, my friend. I'm aware. Good to see you. And thank you for not tempting me to say stupid things like you normally do. Stetson C, but fairly new to the group, can you give a little backstory on the ES&T / ES&DT? Ah, yes. The ES&D. The ES&D is a stupid thing. It's a very stupid thing. I was a beta tester for Railroads Online at the time, and I was getting to play the game for the first time, and I was more than a smidge inebriated at the time, and we had just gotten the 818C into the game, and Armagon had made beautiful drop shadow lettering with the accurate fonts for it for the tender, and they'd just gotten implemented. And so I thought to myself in my whiskey-fueled state, what is the funniest thing that I can put on the tender in this beautiful lettering? And what came to my mind other than eat shit and die? And so that was the thing. The first 818C440 I had on my railroad in Railroads Online was named Lucifer, numbered 69, and it said eat shit and die on the side of the tender. Got permanently stranded off the side of the tracks because it got bugged out and was never able to be re-railed, so we shoe-flied around it. And that save is long gone. That was 2021. That was before the game released. That was a long, long, long time ago. So that was the start of that. And then that it later turned into a joke where the ES&D was a fictitious alternate version of the DNRG. So then the ES&DT is the version of the DNRGW. So in 1924, you go from the eat shit and die to the eat shit and die trying. Stupid. Very stupid. But lots of fun. So good question. All right. Looks like a lot of other top chats are coming in here. James Edwards, a year as a conductor. 1 year. I'm so happy to have been a member for a year. Thanks for all your content. Keep up the great work. Will do. Thank you. Ryan Rail. Hello, Hyce. It was nice to see you again in Loveland. Now I know what... you've introduced yourself as your YouTube name, but it was not until right this second that I actually know what your face is. I know actually who you are now. Yes, Ryan. It was great to see you in Loveland. IDK, what's going on, channel? What kind of light bulbs do Locomotive use in their headlights? I don't, honest to Christ, remember. They're goofy because they're DC, but I don't remember exactly what they are. I wish I could help you. We've got a wonderful electrical engineer volunteer who knows all of the electrical things, and he just kind of takes care of all that stuff. So I've, honest to God, never changed a headlight bulb, nor have I stared at one. So I don't know at all. And there it is. Grateful Ed. I knew you'd do this. Hashtag Mr. Squishy. Roscoe, Montana, office hours and a 49-minute COS dev vlog on Patreon. What a day. What a day. What a lovely day. I mean, Mark and Hyce both do two different things, right? So obviously able to do all those in one day here. So
I mean, I've never seen Mark and Hyce in the same place at the same time.
I know, it's crazy. It's the weirdest thing. So
Weirdest thing.
Daniel Cantore, fireman for 8 months. Hey, Hyce, I was wondering what the museum does for fire protection. Do you have somebody designated for it, or do you just have some water laying around? Congrats on 100K. Thank you, friend. We have our pump house. We have a well that supplies the water tower. Pump house pressurizes from the well up to the water tower. Water tower provides head pressure to the pump house. Again, cycle kind of thing. And then we have a bunch of fire hoses off of a manifold off the side of the pump house that string all the way down and around both the hills. Some also come over from the ran house. But we are able to have hoses on either side. And when it's fire danger season, usually our track crew will spend their day volunteering doing fire watch, and they'll be wetting the hillside down and watching for anything like that. In the wetter season and during operations like Polar, when we don't have like a dedicated crew, our brakemen are tasked with watching for fires as well. And thankfully, knock on wood, we don't tend to have them, and they are where usually it's wetter out, there's snow on the ground, that sort of thing. So if they do happen, they're pretty short-lived. Most of the fires get caused one-off random here and there by 20 dropping something hot out of her ash pan. So that's kind of what's going on. We're always pretty ready for it. So, and then 20 and 346 both carry fire hoses as well on their engines, and then all three engines have deck hoses plumbed off the injector. So we've got many different options there. Okay, back to the pre-asked questions. 2 peas in a pod asked, how did the DNS and the CNTS get saved? It's a good question. We're talking about the Durango and Silverton and the Cumbres and Toltec Scenic Railroads, both former portions of the Rio Grande, one of which is my desktop background. Look at that. Our little girl running on the C&T. You love to see it. The DNS was operated by the Rio Grande until 1980. It was a tourist attraction. The Common Carrier Railroad actually operated it until 1980, at which point they wanted to get rid of it, so they sold it, and a gentleman named Charles Bradshaw bought it. 1981, it ran from there. I missed somebody's top chat? Did I? No, I didn't. I read that. I read that. Don't you call me out?
I was about to say either.
I read that one. Anyway, DNS did that. And then it's changed hands throughout the years. These days it's owned by American Heritage Rail and has been for a long time, which is all kind of under, what's his name? Al something. I don't know why I can't think of his name in the moment. Harper. Al Harper is the owner of that. And he's famous for having said the way that you make a small fortune with a steam locomotive is you start with a large fortune first, and then you you buy the railroad, and then yeah. So anyway, that's a whole fun thing. C&TS, different story. Railroads folding in 1968. No more. The last train ran in 1968. They petitioned and finally successfully were able to abandon the railroad in 1970 and tear it up. But the towns of Antonito and Chama levied to say, hey, if you get rid of the railroad, our towns will go away. These are the only reasons our towns are here. You can't get rid of the railroad. And so the railroad said, okay, bet, your problem now, congrats. And gave the towns and the state governments, really, gave the state governments in New Mexico and Colorado the railroad. So it's owned by the states of Colorado and New Mexico, and operated by a separate entity that is then partially governed with commissioners from both sides, from both states. And it's funded in part by the states of Colorado and New Mexico. And so it got saved 1970, 1971, etc. is the first season that they ran. They got a bit more of a rank deal. They have more equipment in some ways, more cars, more freight cars, whatever was left that the railroad didn't want to deal with. The engines were not in as good a shape, whereas the DNS got a lot of power that was stored serviceable or stored in pretty good condition in Alamosa, and they just kind of got the rest of that stuff, whereas the C&TS kind of got some junk and whatever, and they did a hospital train to the railroad from Alamosa, got all the stuff there, ripped up the track, and then ripped up the third rail, rather, from Antonito to Alamosa, and then it was the whole start of things there. So good stuff, good questions there. Gaming Doggo 66, hey Hyce, will I make a audiobook for Rear Grand Glory Days? That's a different publisher, so I would have to go down a different rabbit hole to make an audiobook for that. I don't own that book, and also I need to finish this one first. I read a new chapter of it today, and I didn't have a chance to post it, so we're slowly moving the needle on that. But my voice was getting a little scratchy at the end, as you can hear, because I'm still dealing with coal-burning locomotive sadness. So we'll get there someday. Screams. There's too many things going on. It's fine. But anyway, we'll get there. So maybe it would be cool, but we're going to finish the first one first. I said I'd have it done by July. I guess I didn't mean July 2023. It's fine.
Fine.
Blend Pie Nexus. At this point, I doubt there is a train enthusiast or foamer that hasn't heard of you. But you have heard of me. Yes. There are, you know, it's hard to say. It feels like a lot of people know me everywhere I go, no matter what. If it's a train related thing, I will run into somebody who's like, "Oh my God, you're the funny bird man on the internet," which is so bizarre, so interesting, and it's always fun to get to meet everybody and chat. I had a lot of fun at the train show recently, this past weekend, going around and just having folks come up and say hi. It's always a lot of fun, because everyone's got different stories and fun stuff and things to swap, and there's it's a huge breadth of people. People hey chef, you're the chef, the train chef, that's you, I've seen you. And then there's guys who are with the BNSF right now that want to tell war stories, and then there's 16-year-old kids that are excited about being part of their model railroad club. and want to show me what the projects they're working on, and it's always a great time. So it's pretty cool. So thank you. SolidWorks, I still hate you. I still hate you too. Who are you?
Who are you?
I'm being traumatized by programs. It's fine.
You aren't the only one.
Good. Joe Pomeroy used to work in a steam shed in the UK, and you don't remember seeing any air compressors on the engine. Is that possible, and are you blind? If it's then vacuum brakes, then what creates the vacuum? Yeah, so if you're just straight vacuum brake, you don't have an air compressor typically. I mean, I wouldn't see any reason why you'd want one otherwise, if you're not choosing to use it for braking. Somebody's going to pull an example out of the woodwork of a vacuum brake engine that also had an air compressor for something. Someone will do that because I've said it, but vacuum brakes, you have a device called an ejector that, so far as I know, uses nozzles and throwing steam out of it to draw a vacuum with a Venturi effect. I've never seen one taken apart. I've seen them modeled in train sims. I've seen pictures of real ones. I've never operated one, but that's my understanding of how vacuum brakes work. Blah blah blah. So that does that, and an air compressor would make compressed air, which is the opposite. So yeah, I'm certain that a lot of UK engines never had it because most of the early locomotives only had vacuum brakes, to my knowledge. So. Yeah, good question.
A little fun fact I actually learned early on in my train adventures. A lot of the main line locomotives over there are fitted with both air and vacuum.
These days,
and what happens is, they use air for the mainline trips, but when they go to a Taurus line that only has vacuum brake fitted coaches, they can still run with those coaches and they don't have to worry about it so much.
There you go. That makes sense. Cool. Magic car, my man. Remember that huffing engine smoke is not good. Tell that to all of our trainee firemen who refuse to use the blower because they don't want to pop the safety valve and they're scared of the blowdown. All of them. They're learning and doing their best, but I have to smack them all and be like, turn the blower on. Breathing coal smoke is getting old. It's fine. Let's see. Blend Pie Nexus, last Father's Day, you went to the museum, met you IRL. You're the third YouTuber I've met IRL, and that little logo token you gifted is still the coolest thing ever. Well, I'm glad. For those who are not hip to that, I think it was Caboose and Twitchy. I think Twitchy drew it up and Caboose printed the first set. And then they've both now printed a bunch and handed me. I've got a pile of them in my car at this point. I have these little medallions. The medallion! She's taking it! Sorry, the Pirates of the Caribbean quotes just happened. That have the channel logo on them that are 3D printed. And I try to carry some around with me when I'm at railroad functions or at the museum so that if I meet you guys, I can hand you a little token. And those will never be for sale. Those are only like a, you met Hyce, congrats kind of thing. And I still have a giant one.
I may or may not have a stack on my desk that I definitely didn't squirrel away.
Okay, so apparently you might also meet Mick, and you won't know it's Mick because it's Mick. He's just hoarding them. Shrug.
Oh, I'm not giving them away. I'm hoarding them. What do you mean?
Okay, if you ever see them sold on eBay, don't buy them.
But I'll have definitely signed by Hyce on them.
Shush. Go away. Retro bits. For diesel locomotives, what's more important, horsepower or torque? As you think more torque would aid in power at higher speeds. So the horsepower ratings that go with diesel locomotives are related to the diesel engine, which is kind of confusing because that does not directly couple to anything at the wheels, right? So, what's more important? I mean, you got it. The alternator has a certain amount of load on it, but if you can meet that load at the right speed, you can make the right amount of voltage and the right amount of current. So more horsepower doesn't necessarily get more good, nor does more torque. I mean, you get to a certain point where the wheels do not play nice with the rails. The 6,000 horsepower diesels of the day that were 6-axle still, like the AC 6000 and the SD90s and all those, ended up just causing problems. So they got rid of those designs basically, and they've gone back to just living in the 44 to 4,500 horsepower range. And what specific torque, I don't honestly know, but they kind of came up with the design that works, and that's what they use these days. So, trains and more random stuff. Can tubes and flues get clogged? If they don't, how would it affect the engine? They absolutely do. Now I need to go search for a picture. They absolutely do. And punching tubes is a part of inspections. We basically end up doing it annually. We've got a auger on a shtick that you slurp through the tube. At one time, we had a sewer head nozzle for our pressure washer that would climb down the tube and blow all the junk out. But particularly the little engines like 20 and 346 that didn't have a brick arch, those bottom tubes would just plug. I mean, plug solid, no air getting through them. So there's usually something like 10 or 20 of them to clean out on every annual inspection. 491 hardly ever plugs any because she has a brick arch. So everything's got to go around, and it's hard to carry that much in it. That said, I'm trying to find the picture, the awful picture of awfulness. Yeah, these pictures. We had really bad coal the one time. So here's pictures. That's Jeff Barrier, the guy from that other YouTube channel, and our late, great Fred Oster in the firebox with most of the fire brick removed. Every single flue and tube got plugged because of this coal being so gunky crappy. It was so oily and sticky. It was junk from Utah that we never ordered ever again. It plugged all 203 of those motherfuckers. Every single one. And that's a superheater flue. Like, it went from 5.5 inch down to like an inch or two. We're trying to fire up the engine. We had a fire in it all day, and it's got like 7 PSI on it. Blower's ripping. Some smoke is getting out the stack, but we just can't make any pressure. And it's like, what the hell is going on? Pulled the brick when... Oh, that's what's wrong with it. Okay.
I can't even... How? Why?
Garbage coal. Garbage coal. That's how. Anyway. IDK, what's going on? How many C-19s did the RGS own? That is a better question for a history person than me. I think 2? 40 and 41?
I believe that's what I've heard.
42 is a class 74 or a class 70, a later sister, but didn't get the same modernizations because it was part of the later thing. So it was originally the same thing, but mainline is saying 2. Good. So 42 was not a C19 ever, but it was very similar.
C17.
C17 if you technically put it in that way. So
yeah.
If you're talking class 70s, it's 3. There you go. Because look, hey, look, mainline and I are on the same page. Thanks, Fred.
Yeah, mainline.
So good. All right. The Pirate Pilot. What's the difference between inside and outside admission valve gear? We did a little bit of this last time. Let's pull up the valve gear sim, shall we? Inside admission mean the steam come from the middle. Outside admission mean the steam come from the outside. That's the very short answer. And I guess we can MS Paint that real quick. First, while I look for the valve gear sim as well. But when you have your valve chest, like imagine you have a D valve. The D valve either holds a pocket of steam in it that it admits into the cylinder when it exposes a port from the inside admission, or the steam is surrounding the outside of it, and then it's uncovering ports on the backside for outside admission. So that's the little difference there, but it changes some of the fun in the rods as well. So let's see, valve gear sim, valve gear. Okay, let's see, is that showing up? Yes, it is. Cool. If we take a look, inside admission wall shirts. Okay, and we'll just run it. Well, we can run it a little slower than that. And put it in forward. The thought is that the steam is being admitted in here. So when the ports are open, well, we'll run it even slower than that. Run it super slow. Ports open, steam's pushing this. Ports closed, then it exhausts out the outside. Inside, steam, do the thing. Port closes, expansion, kick it to the outside. Okay? And so now if we do outside admission, see forwards, now we've got a different setup. It's still wall shirts, but now we're connecting the outside of everything to the ports instead of the inside, and then the exhaust is in the middle. So kind of a goofy different change, but it's engines were set up both ways. There's many ways to skin the cat, as it were. Okay. I love all these people that are asking with top chats the questions that they left on the post. We'll get to them eventually, but yes, anyways. Matt Rainier Rail, but seriously, what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? Is it an English or an African swallow? A king has to know these things. Thank you. James Buckner, have you seen the game Unrailed? Yes, we've played it on the channel a couple times. We actually need to pick up and try and play it again. It'd be fun for another stream, so... And I see Kyle Pennypacker is doing a follow-up. Are slide valves inside or outside versus piston valves inside? Either can be both. It just depends. You could use either flavor. It was more typical that slide valves were inside admission? Am I remembering right? I think... No, maybe they're outside. I'm in stream brain mode. I can't think. Yeah, they can't be both at the same time, but you could have them either way. 2 peas in a pod, Hyce. If we wanted to send like fan mail or something, where would we send it to? It has been on my to-do list to get a P.O. box forever, and I talked with Dusty about it, because a little secret, I despise the post office. I don't know why I despise the post office. Nothing against our postal workers. I just get frustrated by having to experience the post office. So I was going to have Dusty take care of it for me, and that way I could kick him a little cash and help my buddy out and have him do something that I absolutely hate doing. And then I talked with him about that like 4 months ago and haven't moved the ball on that since because there's too much other crap going on. So right now you can send stuff addressed to me at the museum, and that works. And as long as it's not all the time, it doesn't anger the front office too often or too bad. So, yeah. So you could do that if you'd like. Gary L23, hey Hyce, what's your general opinion on the Rat Pack? Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., or other crooners? Do you like any of their music? Great singers. I mean, shoot, Frank Sinatra. I don't tend to listen to that stuff myself, but it's great. I mean, they were people of the people of their era, you know? So, I really liked the Frank Sinatra stuff when he partnered up with Count Basie. I'm more of a big band guy, and I love Count Basie. Probably one of my favorite big bands between Count Basie and Glenn Miller, because I am just Diet Coke, the jazz opinion guy, like default boring. But yeah, when Sinatra partnered with Count Basie, I really liked some of those recordings. So, Craig Bryant, hey Mark, I got a good question. What would it take to convince Union Pacific or any other company out there to start allowing narrow gauge runs on the main lines again? Yeah, it's millions upon millions of dollars, and connections at the highest level. Like they would just. They're just not. They're so. None of the railroads are happy about external anything happening on their railroads at all. And if it needs a third rail being laid and all the switches getting torn out and replaced, yeah, it'd be cool, but means no. Yeah.
Basically, the connection is you have to become the CEO of Union Pacific or any other Class 1 and have $1 billion to pay for this.
Basically. All right. Jake's Gaming and Train Channel. Hey, Hyce, I wanted to know, since you literally bought a vintage train before you joined the stream, but you wanted to know what's the oldest or most expensive model I own. Oldest, I have a picture of, if I can find it.
You showing a picture because it's in that box under your stairs?
No, it's in Seattle. That's why.
Oh. There is also a pile of model train boxes under his stairs.
There is a pile of model train boxes under my stairs. That's where the model train boxes go. Most expensive model, I don't. I would have to think about. Actually, it might be the model of OY that Midland bought me. If I had to think about it. Yeah.
More than,
Yep.
I will not disclose the price of that item, but yes.
Yep. I think that does win because I know what I paid for the other locomotives, and fuck you, Midland. Like, why? But anyways, love you, buddy. That's the most expensive. The oldest I'm trying to find a picture of. It's a Lionel 260E. And it's tin plate, or right after the tin plate era. Ah, there we go. This
You put in a
this was my
pre-order
granddad's.
So you put in a pre-order on the ES&T boys, right?
Oh no, yeah, that's gonna be the most.
Yeah.
That will be the most expensive, but I
Yeah.
don't have it yet.
I recall seeing a price tag on that one, and ooh.
Yeah, them's expensive, but that's worth it, so that's fine. But yeah, this is the oldest one I have. It's Lionel 260E. It was my granddad's. He had a couple of them, but some of them were MTH repros. But so far as I know, this is a real one. So I snagged that, but it is at my mom's place back in Seattle still. And then let me get to the real most expensive, just to satisfy Mick. The real most expensive. I don't have it yet, but I ordered this doot in the middle, the ES&T 51, and it's gonna be like $27.50, I think, all said and done.
Yeah, that's a handy margin more expensive.
That's a spendy choo choo, but yeah.
These are SM3, right?
These are an SM3, never been made before, so.
So they had the prototypes on display at the narrow gauge convention, and that's kind of what sold him. He went and looked at it. He's like, okay, I have to have this now.
No, I had already had my order in for a year. Are you kidding me?
Oh, you had already? I thought you ordered it there.
No, the pre-orders had been closed for 9 months by then.
Oh, okay. Anyways, he came up ranting and raving about how they had the prototypes and made us all go look at it.
Yeah, because they're pretty as fuck, because it's Jimmy Booth. Shout out Jimmy Booth. Buddy, my friend. I know you don't watch anything that I post, but you know, it's fine.
Like, it's SM3, but the model itself is
SM3,
probably...
they're big.
It's almost like a foot long, isn't it?
Oh, it's probably more than a foot long. It's probably close to 15 inches long, maybe? 14, 15, if I had to guess. Anyway.
Yeah. The ES&T tanks are surprisingly not long for what they are.
Yeah, they're small for what they are, but they're not that big. So, but they're still kind of surprisingly big, but yeah.
Jimmy Booth, if you're listening, can we get an 8.5 C3 next, please?
Make me the little dude. That'd be fun. Glenn Holland,
Nope.
the man, the myth, the legend. You need to ping you off stream regarding something Steam related. Gotta borrow my immense knowledge. I don't know about that. Great to see another stream. Hope you're well and had a great Thanksgiving. I did. Thank you.
You got a comment from Millbrook, just a few above Tristan's.
I'm scrolled up in chat, man. You're 2/3 of a way to a 7.25 gauge industrial switcher. Yeah, but I'd rather have a cute little steam engine.
Yeah.
Duh. You understand how it goes. Anyway. King of comedy, a brakeman for 1 month. He went to Traintopia, Texas. Big boy in person is big. Yes, can confirm. Big boy is large. Large lad. Very large. Yep. Molden House, what's the longest train I've pulled in Deero Valley? You recently had 39 cars from the steel mill to the harbor, DE6 plus slug. Can't wait to make cursed engines NHO. It's in a video. I've done 2 videos. I think I did a 3-kilometer long train and then a 4-kilometer long train. And the 4-kilometer long train just did not happen at all in any semblance of good fashion. And that was like 300 or 400 cars. I don't remember. It was ridiculous. Darknut 96, here's a cursed idea. Streamlined zoom out. No, go away. No. Let's see. Craig Bryant is the East Broadtop, the only narrow gauge that is somewhat running with standard gauge again. Some of the videos that are out there kind of shows that they are. They dual gauge with the trolleys. Yeah.
Yeah. Drink. It depends.
It does. Yeah.
If you're talking about, there is a bit of dual gauge by the Trolley Museum that they run over. Yes, the East Broad Top itself, however, is not running standard gauge. The Rock Hill Trolley Museum is a separate entity.
Right. I don't know if there's any narrow gauge that ends up doing true dual gauge. Other than, of course, us. But
I mean, technically, there is the X29 in the yard that is, that it's there.
That's right. Yeah, we do dual gauge shenanigans probably twice or 3 times a year at the museum. Maybe 4 years. 4 times a year.
Does the Nevada Northern do dual gauge?
There's no narrow gauge out there. The Nevada State Railroad Museum, I think both at Boulder City and at Carson City, they also have dual gauge as well. So I don't know how much they'll run both gauges. I don't know if they do like idler car shenanigans or not. We'd have to ping our man Daniel Gollery for that. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, it happens around, but the EBT is not necessarily the only one. But they're like the only like big one, I guess. It's not a museum.
Chat says not Boulder, but yes in Carson.
Not Boulder, but yes Carson. Okay, I've seen Eureka, the Eureka, run at Boulder. Maybe they just had 3 foot. I don't know. Whatever. Details.
Maybe. Oh, no. What they did is they laid 3-foot panel track next to the main.
Okay, so it's not dual gauge. Gotcha. That makes sense. Cool. All right, Sir Liv, conductor for 6 months. Tom Scott is ending weekly videos at the end of the year. Chris Eden Green and Lori are considering their futures. Is YouTube Golden Age ending? I hope not. I'm just starting to like really have fun with this. Would be a bummer. I don't want to have to go back to an office job. I like playing with trains and talking about it. Hopefully not. Anyway, Noah Made Lil, conductor for 9 months. Hey, Hyce, hope you had a wonderful turkey day. What engineering/other courses in colleges relate to steam locomotive mechanics? Thermodynamics, fluid mechanics, dynamics, machine design, metallurgy stuff, mechanics of materials. Do you need to know all those things? Not really. Is it nice to know the thing behind it? Yeah. Shrug. So, your standard mechanical engineer stuff.
Or learn to machine and weld.
Yeah. If you actually want to work on the engines, don't do college stuff. Let's see. Molded house. I forgot the keyword. Successfully run. We ran the 3-kilometer train across most of the map before it ran out of gas. It actually made it pretty far. So I don't know if you want to run with that or not. If not, I had that 100 car or whatever it was train that was we had 3D E6s on that actually we delivered all of. So probably that big. Rusty Gear 556. Hey Mark, random thought: if there was 2 locomotives, one existent, one non-existent, and you could operate them, which would they be? Yeah, that's a fun question. If I was given the choice, I'd like to operate the big one, either the big one, big boy, or the big orange one, daylight. Points at sign wherever it is there. But I have a lot of fun with that. One can dream. And then non-existent, I don't know.
Magma 4.
No, that's boring and stupid. And from Arizona.
I think we know the answer, and the problem is, hopefully soon, ASTM.
A T1, S1, just Penziisms of much speed would be shitposty. Yes, hello.
I think Midland was referring to Zuma, but
the
sure.
Zoomy Boy, the Zoomy Boy, we want to do the Zoomy Boy because we're capable of building it. I am not capable of building an S1 in my garage. That is never going to happen. That is a physical impossibility.
I don't know, man. Sounds like you need a bigger garage.
I was about to say, with a big enough garage, you can do it.
Something. If anyone here is going to new build an S1, it's going to be my ass.
You're going to need more than a garage.
Save your pennies.
So
it is. I think
I have 2 kidneys.
Yeah, we're not making the Montezuma because I crave to run the Montezuma, a little itty bitty 240. We're making it because we can, and then we'll really want to run it because we made a choo-choo. To run for the sake of running. Yeah, one of those big fast Penzi boys would probably be the thing, just to see if my cojones are big enough to actually get it up to the alleged 150 mile an hour. But
I mean, the test track is in Colorado, and you are in Colorado, so they could just invite you.
It's true.
Dear T1
And-
Trust, invite Mark, please.
Yeah, you want
Depends how
to
much
do
you
a
trust
PR
MOW.
stunt? Yeah. Anyway, sign me up.
Um,
Done. Sold.
Just above Zimzam, Nick Hovey is one of the people we know, right?
Yes. No idler cars in Carson. Just odd switching moves with strange links and pins and adapters with the dinky. Yeah, that sounds about right. You should see some of the crap we do. The amount of times we've used our dinky Pee-wee as an idler. Yeah, goofy. Zimzam got your first North Pole of the season done. Lots more to go. Plus shop time going to be fun. 3 steam engines running to timetable is wild. Here's to lots of shoveling. That's got to be wild. I've only had to run to timetable like once, and it was for a photo charter on the CNTS, so it was kind of loosey-goosey. Who cares? The pilot's managing the timetable anyways. I'm just getting told to pull the stick. So, yeah, that sounds fun.
We may be able to get a guest speaker on those ops if she's available.
We could, but I mean, it's not that terribly exciting. Anyway, Barton Stapleton, what are your thoughts on broad gauge in England? It's wide. That's all I got. it's wide. Ugh. Anyway,
But isn't the loading gauge the same as standard gauge over here?
it's probably still smaller. Anyway. Redline Overload Productions. Hey, Hyce, has there been an uptick in attendance to the museum due to your YouTube channel? Also, have there been any new volunteers that have joined because of you and your YouTube channel? I have not been given numbers. There's no way that we can tell if it's because of me or if we've done things or whatever. I don't know. I assume that there has been, the amount of people that have said anecdotally that they're only there or only have heard of the museum because of the YouTube. I can say that we've gotten a lot of new volunteers explicitly because of my YouTube. More than I can count on one hand. So that's pretty exciting. Anyway. Weird 1012. Some European engines have safety devices to prevent a cylinder head going yeet when water condenses and the engineer forgets to open the cylinder cocks. Basically a safety valve, but with a stiffer spring, as can be seen on Albatross 498.104. Why don't American engines have this? Did they just go screw that? Just tell the engineer to be careful? It's not about being careful. It's about not fucking up. Our engines have head studs that are designed to fail instead of anything else. So you yeet the head, but it breaks the studs, not the cylinder itself, rather than an extra thing to maintain that acts as a stronger safety device. And why? I don't know. That's a neat thing. That's a neat approach to the solution of the problem. I don't honestly know, but anyway. All right, those are all the questions from previous to today's post. So we're now on today's post things. We get a couple more of these and we'll get to the top chats. Troy Hinesley. Can the Midwest Central Railroad number 6 run on the BNSF? No. The gauge is wrong. Standard gauge and narrow gauge, that doesn't work. Southern Rail Fan 4501. Did I know that 191 used to work in Wisconsin? And the reason is because you worked in a museum with one of our old stablemates. I do know that. That's where the museum got it from. We traded several varnish cars for it that ended up at Huckleberry. And I'm not sure how the trade worked out, but that's how that went, so that we could get it, because it's the last 10 or class 56 1024E. Orange the Martian. Is railroading hard? Is it easy to go up the ranks? It depends, Drink. Is it hard? I don't think so. Sometimes it can be challenging in some ways, and sometimes there's hard work that has to get done, but is it like actually hard? Like in concept, not necessarily. It's usually relatively straightforward. Sometimes it's challenging, sometimes it's heavy, sometimes it's all those things. Is it easy to go up the ranks? Depends what you're talking about. Are you in the craft? Are you a conductor trying to promote to engineer? Well, then you've got to deal with all the union everything. Are you management? How much brown nosing do you feel like doing? It's the whole thing. So, anyway. Oh, the whistle
Certainly
stopped
physically
blowing after.
intensive.
It can be. Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it is. Let's see. Blind Pie Nexus, what do I think of the drill-mounted train horns? They're not real train horns. The drills cannot provide enough air to actually blow a real train horn. So they sound kind of neat, and they're kind of funny that they exist, but it's not like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Virtual Rough Hand Productions. Hey, can you guys explain the whole thing about shift work in the BNSF days, i.e. first, second, third shifts? Once again, with people asking their questions as top chats after they ask them as questions. I read all the questions. Okay. Well, I'll just mark your question off when we get to it later. Good question. First, second, third shifts. We had 3 shifts at the shops. This is specifically talking about mechanical. This is not talking about train crew. Train crews didn't work by shift. Tip asterisk. Most train crews did not work by shift. Mechanical, we had shifts where you had first, second, thirds, or days, swings, and night shift. Ours ran from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., and then 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Other shops did 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7. Shrug. The whole premise there being that you can have folks working a normal quote-unquote work day, but have work going on all the time so that the railroad never sleeps, right? At our time, day shift had the most support, had the most management, had all of the extra ancillary services with them, because my shop was the smallest of the big shops, and rumor mill is it actually closes in 2 days. Single tier, F for Interbay. On day shift, you had like the general foreman 2, the general foreman 1 would both be on there. So the upper management guys, Monday through Friday, would be there during day shift. You'd have usually 2 supervisors on duty. You'd have the material clerks who could order material and get material and deliver material to places. You had the tech rep from EMD, the tech rep from GE for all that support, and you had the most manpower. You had something like 40 guys on a typical day shift session. Second shifts, swing shifts, upper management has gone home, and sometime in there the day shift foreman or the 2-day shift foreman would go home partway through second shift, and then you'd get the night shift foreman in, which is usually what I ended up being, mostly because I just didn't want to deal with the clusterfuck that was day shift and all the whiny bitches that were on day shift. That was my outside voice. Oops. There were lots of personalities. Think of every bit of high school drama you've ever had, and that was working on day shift. It was just really frustrating. And second shift and third shift were all the old heads who hated everybody else, or all the young guys that didn't have seniority for day shift would be, so everyone was way more chill. So I enjoyed the night shift more. But second shift, you had fewer people. You didn't have material clerks. You didn't have the tech reps. You had 1 supervisor, typically. And it was a lot smaller. I mean, maybe 20 guys, 25 guys. And then night shift was like 8 guys. Hardly anything. So, yeah. It's universal. Night shift is always the cool shift that's more chill and pays better. It didn't pay better on the railroad because the railroad tells you to take it up the butt. But there you go. So,
and yet somehow you still manage to get more done in night shift than any other shift.
Yep, that's true.
With less people.
There was a chart that they would put out every day, a couple times a day, showing all the mechanical shops and how many locomotives they had released versus their target. Our target was to release 5 locomotives as good power every day. Day shift on average would get 0.7. So less than 1 locomotive released on day shift most of the time. And second shift would have an average of about 3.8. And then third shift, the last 2 hours, right before midnight, from 10 to midnight, had an average of getting up to 5, the final releases. We would hit it. Because every time, this is what would happen without fail. You'd brief the third shift crew, be like, yeah, I need you to finish this. This is what's the tasks on it. Go out, load it up. Let's do a quick outbound on it, whatever. Come in, sign it off. And if you're not done by midnight, the locomotive will be out of the computer. Someone will have just magically made it fixed. So that's the way that the railroad worked, and that was the way that you kept the Eye of Sauron in Fort Worth off of your back. So it was expected that you would just do it. Was it good? No. Were there ethics involved? No. But hey, welcome to the railroad. Myself, I would refuse. I would never sign off any certifiable items, like anything that the FRA truly cared about. I would not get rid of defects. Some of my coworkers maybe did a little bit of that. It's fine. It's fine. apparently nothing ever went wrong. So, and we weren't as bad as some of the other shops, the ones that were highballing wheel sheets and sending wheels that were about to pick a switch and cause a huge disaster, but that's fine. We don't need to go into the realities of the railroad at this time. So anyway, so that's a whole thing. Let's see. Hopefully that got your question more or less answered, Virtual Rail Fan, with the different shifts. Craig Bryant. Hey, Mark, is there any way you can try to ride in the cab of the big boy, or are you working on anything to ride in the cab of any steam engine on the main? I'm not working on anything directly right now. I've talked with a couple orgs before. There's not much there. I mean, I want to. I've talked with Ed before, and Ed said at one time that UP wasn't really interested in media stuff at the time. And then later Ed was like, hey, can you come up and film a video about the big boy when I was in Seattle? And I'm like, motherfucker. So who knows what we will come to. When they run it next year, I'll reach out to Ed again and see if I can at least go up and do a quick walk around video or something with it, because Ed's a nice guy and great to chat with, and I would love to be able to show that off on the channel and provide my context on things. I want to go ride on a steam engine on the main. I think we all want that, so we will see when that happens. So Jackson Wages, welcome to the Brakeman. Thank you. You look like one of my former employees in your profile picture. Maybe you are, maybe you're not, but that's not your name. But anyway, fun stuff. Okay, Atka, have you ever watched Dinosaur Train? If so, have you noticed that the engine's tender looks like to be it's filled with balls of leaves as its fuel? I don't even know what that is, so wish I could answer better than that, but I don't know what it is.
Show animated, kind of wacky.
Cool. Fun fact: I don't watch TV. I don't watch shows. Like, it will be once in a blue moon that I'll watch something, because I'm doing all of the everything. Yeah. So, I'm watching the second season of Invincible with my sister right now as the episodes come out. And that is all of the show watching I have done in about the last month. So that's 3 episodes in a month so far. So people are saying it's a kid's show. That's funny. I do watch YouTube, because YouTube isn't a short enough thing that like I can be eating a meal and I can digest a short YouTube video. But that's that. So anyway, KC Trains. Firstly, congrats on 100K subs. And now for the question. I've heard rumors of a Pennsylvania Railroad J buried near a Norfolk Southern yard and was curious about my opinions on it. I punt to Auntie. Is there a J1 buried?
The only evidence for that existing, or the only evidence for that rumor, is a false claim that the scrapping order for that locomotive does not exist. The scrapping order does exist. Discord member Luna has actually found it.
Huh. Cool.
Otherwise, it's just false rumor. I don't know. I guess it's just a fun thing that people like to believe because, hey, funny, big choo-choo buried in Pitcairn Yard. But no.
It's always a thing because it did happen. There have been instances of that before. My former boss, the assistant general at Interbay when I started, when he worked at Lincoln, Nebraska diesel shop, they were digging a new foundation for a new building and came across a locomotive buried. Like, oh,
well, the story with the
train.
J1 is that they just left it on the deadline and it got buried by the highway that was built over the yard.
Okay.
And yet, no.
It's kind of silly.
There's record of it online. Like, the order is scanned in the PRR archives for it being moved to Altoona for scrap.
There you go. And speaking of Penzi posting, here we are, ABT 1215. Do you believe the PRR S1 152 mile an hour record or any of the S1 and T1 claims?
156.
I believe them. They got ticketed. Why would you ticket somebody if you didn't have proof of them going too fast? But it didn't pull a dynamometer car and break itself. I side with the Pennsylvania Railroad, but I'm also a Keystone enjoyer. So anyway,
yeah, the ticket is based on Distance and time, aka math.
You literally cannot, like, people like, you can't prove it, and it's like, there's this thing in calculus called the mean value theorem that if you take a certain time between two places, you can calculate that you at minimum had to have hit a certain speed, no matter the acceleration, deceleration. And all of those theorems based on times would say faster than Mallard's speed with those engines. And I don't know, the railroad made up time zones, and they had standard clocks, and everyone had standard watches that they had to sync to the standard clocks. I would think they would be pretty fucking good at telling time. But I don't know. It didn't break itself pulling a dynamometer car with a fart and a tailwind and 2 pounds behind
Going downhill.
Think of it this
downhill.
way. Either the S1 did 31 miles at 156 miles an hour, or it went through a wormhole. Take your pick.
Definitely a wormhole. No other possible way.
Yep. Or they managed to not keep time by a couple minutes and it only did, like, I don't know, 140 miles an hour. Wacky. Anyway,
Hey,
I'm excited
to
for the I'm excited for the T1 to get built so that they can finally just say, no, this thing is capable of doing this. We have modern proof because you didn't
Where
believe the old proof.
5550?
Please give. The rest of EBT 1215s was also huge congrats on 100K. Keep up the great work. Thank you. And putting in a petition for an uphill slow, downhill fast t-shirt. We will be doing more fun t-shirts when we get the store rolling, which will happen before the heat death of the universe. Screams at Leighton Moreland. Are you out there, Leighton Moreland? He's meeting with people tomorrow about it. Getting the last of the things figured out. It'd be great if we could figure it out before Christmas, and so that we can do things like these things. We can have these things that people want. You know, like these. Look at it. Look at it. I want all of you to look at it. It's been built. It's run. It derailed on its first voyage. It's great. We'll probably give this away.
As the prophecy foretold.
As foretold in the prophecy. So.
Also, I hate to interrupt the prophecy, but we have to lime Jimmy again.
What else is new? All right. Back to the top chats. Darknet 96.
If you want a side quest, there is a thing by one of the firemen in Not Trains. But it's a side quest, so you don't have to go there.
Wait. What you want? What are you trying to say?
It's a car thing.
It's a car thing.
So if you want to go on a side quest, the side quest is available.
Oh, is it the... Aw. Talking about the charger?
Yeah.
That's so pretty. Jealous. So jealous. So jealous. Roscoe, Montana is just casually working on their 68 charger? Is it a 68 or 69? I can't tell without the front valence in it. The grill delineator there. Dealing with suspension. Yeah, that's... I rebuilt the suspension on the GTO. That's a pain in the... That's beautiful. That's a great color, too. Yeah. Love those cars.
It is a pretty color.
That is the only car that I like more than the GTO that I have, is this era of Charger. So, cheers to you. Godspeed with the rebuild. That's a good side quest. We like those. Okay, Darknet 96. In your days of being a manager, what's the kookiest and sketchiest shit that passed inspection? Like past inspection or past inspection? Because there's a difference. I think the regular one that was that past inspection but shouldn't have would be all of the snow plows that should not have been allowed to probably go back out, but technically met the requirements to go back out. We had regularly the snow plows get written up by employees, and they would write like broken plow, bad ordered plow, safety. I'm gonna try and find a picture of one. It was very regular that the plows would get chalked up and written up, but they didn't actually meet any federal defect, and so they would just run that way. And because 3 shifts and nobody being able to talk all of the little details to everybody, and the employees who didn't give 2 fucks that were working for the railroad not caring to deal with or take responsibility for undoing the chalk mark that said safety and whatever. It was very regular that these trains would go out and then go get put on a train with all those words written over the front of the plows without ever getting cleaned off, which was kind of funny. So that was the kind of goofy stuff that would actually pass inspection, not just get highballed through inspection. I'm trying to see if scroll through pictures and see if I have a picture of it, but I know it happened a couple of times, and I know I have pictures, but the thing that passed inspection that I was talking about, other shops highballing, I don't have pictures of it or its wheel sheet. Oh, here we go. Yep. Plow broken. Plow bad ordered. Chalk mark all the way up this bent thing. It didn't cause an FRA defect. Ship it. Book him, Dano. Who cares? Yeah. That's a fun thing. So that was always fun. That there was a locomotive though that passed inspection. Came out of Kansas City the one time. Came out right after its annual. Ran to Seattle, and the hostlers brought it over. The hostlers are not mechanical people. They are train crew folks who can only move power, and not train cars. And they would go and pick up the locomotives, build the consists, and get them set over to be put on trains so that they could get tested and go do the thing and everything. And the hostlers brought this big road unit, this big like a Dash 9 or something, brought it over to the shop. And they drop it off and there's no defects on it. You know, lead man's arriving the units into the computer system as they show up. And he's like, yeah, there's nothing on these. I'm like, I don't know what's going on with that. Then my phone rings and I answer it and it's the hostler. And he's like, hey, I want mechanical to look at the wheels on that unit. Like, I think mechanical should look at it. I'm like, oh, there's no defects on it, but yeah, we'll take a look at it. So I went down there with my wheel gauge, put my wheel gauge on it and went, ha! Because it wouldn't take the gauge. The flanges were so tall, the gauge wouldn't go and touch the tread. Like, you're supposed to be able to hold the gauge to the back side of the wheel and have it go over and then be able to read how tall the flange is. And it gets to FRA if it can't take the gauge. So these were FRA legal wheels. It's like, holy shit, these need to be trued or changed or something. So I pull up the history on the unit, and it got released by the Kansas City Locomotive Shop 4 days prior with a wheel sheet put in by a supervisor saying we'll need wheels trued at next maintenance. And it overwrote the wheel sheet that the machinist had put in. So Argentine needed to make a unit. They couldn't get it to the wheel true by the end of the day to actually get it fixed up and released properly, but they didn't want the Eye of Sauron in Fort Worth to stare down upon them for not doing their job. And so management said, no, it was okay. It wasn't quite that bad. They measured it wrong. And it was obviously that bad. And that shit happens on the railroad all the time. Everyone should know their FRA inspector's phone number. That's all I'm saying. So that was the sketchiest. And it passed inspection because it was in maintenance. And the maintenance limit for truing wheels was months ago. But anyway. Craig Bryant, the yellow water tenders UP uses with 844 and 4014. What is the water capacity? 28,000 gallons?
I believe so.
Somewhere around there. I don't know.
I believe they were originally 24, 25, and then they got rebuilt and became 28.
Okay. I would trust Midland on that. I mean, at 25 to 30,000 sounds about right. So, anyway.
Yeah, they were former gas turbine tenders. And
right.
Before that, they were FEF Northern tenders. So they've been rebuilt a number of times, but I believe it was originally like 24. And then when they got rebuilt to their current shape, they got up to 28.
Cool. Zimzam, a fireman for 12 months. If you want to see an engine working hard, check out Little 97 during North Pole Express. She's the smallest engine with the heaviest train. That seems unfair. Plus, in the next few years, we'll have a fourth steamer on the schedule. That's kick-ass. I got to come out and see you guys. So, let's see. Continues to scroll. Sir Liv, even if the T1 can get permission for any mainline running at all, is there any track that would hold her at over 80? Northeast Corridor, 1, but I doubt they'll get permission there. But the TTC in Pueblo, they could bring it out and do the thing. So, Jackson Wages, you upgraded just so you could lime me when needed. Thank you, my friend. Call sign Apollo, welcome to the conductors. And Zimzam, speaking of models, did I ever sign the ones? No. Let me write that down on my my notes on my thing because I don't have that written down anywhere, and it's gonna go woo otherwise because the ADHD is a powerful thing. Sign the models for Zim Zam. Okay, it's written down now. We'll get it done eventually. It's fine. Okay, scrolling down, trying to catch up. Oh, that's everyone. Okay, cool. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. All right. Back to the pre-asked questions. Bear 470, what are my thoughts on RJS 41 being brought back into service? Fucking awesome. So cool. I mean, obviously it ran at Knott's forever. That's actually the only Knott's engine I've ever seen. I've been to Knott's Berry Farm probably 4 or 5 times, and every time I went, 41 was doing the honors. Cool little choo-choo's sister to 346. When it was on the Rio Grande, it was the 409, I believe. Would have been 349. I don't know when it went over there and all that, but it's the 41. And getting that thing, to see that thing actually go out on the line and run on home rails after a fresh rebuild, and it's just like so cool. I wish I could have seen it in person. Jeff and Dusty went down to go see it, and I wanted to see it. I wish I could have seen it. It was more important that they go see it than me go see it. Jeff cut his teeth on that engine. Dusty needed a goddamn vacation. And he was going to have a shot at firing 81, but I guess 481 wasn't running yet, so oh well. I will just have to drag his ass down to Durango in January and forcibly, against his will, make him do it. So anyway, super cool. So good to see. You know, and it's nice to know that that Durango's good at rebuilding C19s because they're getting 346 next. Spoilers. What? Jeff Taylor told me that contract signed so I can actually talk about it. Yeah, we've known this for a while. 346 is going to get completed by the DNS. At least mechanically. They're going to take care of the big stuff it needs because we can't do the work at the museum. So it's going down to, it'll be going down to Durango probably next year sometime. Probably be there for probably a year to 2 years somewhere in Theresville. Come back looking like it does now, and then we'll finish putting it together. But she's going to get all the boiler work she needs there. She's going to get all her engine taken care of, the new axles, the tires, the everything. And so the work that they just did so well on 41 is going to get repeated on 346 our girl. So that's exciting.
Do you guys have to do a bunch of fundraising for that, or?
They're doing fundraising for it, but the museum already has a significant amount of money for it, thankfully. So that's always good. It is so wonderful being at the museum right now. It is well managed right now, and shit is just like firing on all cylinders. It's awesome. So we love that. So
that's good. And also, does this mean non-zero chance of 346 getting to stretch her legs a little bit?
It means 0 chance because they're taking it as it looks right now, which is a barrel with wheels.
So just boiler.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just sending it as is, and it'll get sent back. But it's going to be made FRA because we want to go play with it like we get to go play with 20. Cumbres on Cumbres. 150th birthday. Come on. Think about it.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
Anyway. No confirmation of those sorts of things, but we desire it, so.
Something, make me an offer I cannot refuse.
Something. Yeah, basically. In the terms of make me an offer that you can't refuse, the opinions have pivoted from, 491 will never do that, to, hey, if somebody raises a shit fuck ton of money, I'd do it. And it's like, don't threaten me with a good time. Anyway. Sonic Nick 5192, do you have any funny or interesting stories with the Yukon and White Pass Railway? Other way around, but yes. Or just having to fight the snow in general, and which goose did I try to plow snow with, and how was that experience? Okay, I don't have any stories about the White Pass and Yukon because I don't know any. Plowing snow, I plowed snow big time in 346 back in the day. We had 2 foot of snow on the museum in April of all months, and we plowed with 346 with no pilot plow, just with the boiler tube, and the snow was sticky enough that it just worked. And that's like running a tonnage train but going like a mile an hour. I mean, you're firing the crap out of it. Crazy fire in that thing, and it's just working super hard to do it. which was pretty cool. So that was a lot of neat stuff. I never plowed snow with the Goose. I've run the Goose. I've run 7 around the railroad once. 7 we have a plow. We have 2 plows. We just got a new plow made for 7, I believe. So 7 and 6 can both have them. They're standard pattern. We can put them on any of them. But 7 has working pilot flanger, and it has the plow. And so they did that both. So, yeah. Jeff's done that, and Al's done that, and all the guys. I haven't run it that way, but that's pretty cool. Also in plow news, we're getting a plow made up for the 219s for 346 and 20. We'll have to see if they both can wear it, because it might. It's going to be patterned off the same plow that they both would have wore, but 20's pilot is so goobered that I don't know if it'll fit both engines at the same time without crazy modifications. Shrug. But we're getting those pilot plows, and we're actually getting one built, so that's exciting. Anyway. Sonic Nick. Oh, that was the one we just read. Or no, it's not. Same person, but 2 questions. All right. Sonic Nick 5192 again. Have I ever gotten to fire a diesel or propane-fired steam engine yet, either full-scale or live steam? Have I operated any 7.5-inch gauge live steam engines before? No, no, and no. I've operated 15-inch gauge, but not 7.5-inch gauge. There'll be a video about the 15-inch gauge coming out probably early-ish next year. So,
You haven't operated 7.5-inch gauge yet.
Yet, yes. I need to go to Florida and play trains. Anyway, also probably early next year, so we can hope. Glenbro58, hey Hyce, what are your thoughts on South African railways, the 2-foot in particular, because you might be able to work on the Apple Express soon? I know nothing about it. I think all trains are cool. We like trains. I know South African railways had a lot of cool engines. I've heard that. And I didn't know they had 2-foot, though. I'm sure it's neat. Michael, hey Hyce, this is Guy. Hi, Guy. Guy. Yes. I have a 2-part question. You like to run long trains in Derail Valley, usually 1 kilometer plus long. Sometimes, usually for switching reasons, you run these trains from the rear with a remote control. When doing this, I noticed that when telling the train to get moving, Hyce beans, the head end starts to speed up while the rear, where I'm at, remains still for a bit before getting violently jolted forward and going along with the rest of the train. I assume this is a result of the game simulating the slack in your train, so your question is, how accurate is this simulation of slack action? I assume the jolt is accurate, but the coupler is staying intact, and pulling the cars along is not. And in a real train, how does one manage the slack so as to avoid violently jolting cars, passengers, cargo, busting knuckles, especially in the case of really long trains? How would I, as an engineer from the front, tell when it is safe to give it the beans, and when is it not? Great question. I don't know.
Stretch them.
Stretch them. Go ahead. I don't know for the buffer and chain couplers, like when they would break, but it was pretty regular at Inner Bay that you'd all of a sudden just hear the loud, hollow boom of a train of 100 cylindrical grain hoppers that were empty, the slack run out and get jolted, and they would just go take off as they're leaving the yard. Just bang! Super loud sound, always scary. And they wouldn't break knuckles somehow. So that was kind of hilarious. It depends on the train length. Obviously, if you're going stupid long, yeah, you're going to break stuff. But the ETD, the end of train device, commonly known as a FRED, tells you speed at the end of train on the real thing. So you're pulling out the throttle and you're lightly working it until you see that your speed is relatively the same as what your head end's doing. Then you can roll up on the throttle and do the thing. So, can you do that in Derail Valley? Not really, unless you have DPs on the rear that you've linked to, that then give you the speed rate out of what they're doing on the back while you run from the front. So, or if you have engines, you could do it vice versa and start the gauge in the cab, I guess. But that's the thing. You'd have to have a locomotive there because the remote doesn't tell you. You don't have a true ETD in Derail Valley. So, good question. And then P.S. I was giving my locomotive all the beans when these rear end jolts occurred. Why do you ask? You got places to be and time bonuses to get. A man after my own heart. So, Zimzam, you need to go to Train Mountain and 37 miles of 7.5-inch gauge and lots of trains. Plan to be at the next one with your EBT diesel. I want to go to Train Mountain. I got invited a couple years ago before I did YouTube. Jimmy Booth, the man, the myth, the legend, the PVL, owns a C16 and a K27 in 7.5-inch gauge. And he invited me up after we met each other at the whatever event it was at the museum at the time. And it just was not going to work out, unfortunately. So I didn't go. I've always wanted to go, though. One of these days we'll get there.
It's an experience. It's, yeah, you just keep going and going and going. And you're just out in the middle of nowhere.
I imagine it's gotta be several hour run if you do the whole thing.
Yeah, basically, like you would leave after lunch and you'd come back after dinner.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of kudos to the guys that go out with small engines. We were very fortunate to go out with a large FEF3 that was made for long hauls. But yeah, I mean, kudos to the guys who do it with much smaller engines because that's a lot of work.
No kidding. For Blues Crew, yeah, I see it. Train Mountain is a ridiculous live steam 7.5-inch gauge railroad in Oregon. I mean, it's just absurd. Like they said, 37 miles of railroad.
Yeah. If you look at it on a map, if you pull up their map, like there's like this tiny little cluster that's like the main museum and whatnot. It's still very large in its own, but then it goes under the highway and then it just takes off. It just keeps going and going and going. And like you basically just go in not a straight line, but basically you just go out in this big like arc and come back. And it's
crazy. That's a bucket list thing to go play there at some point. So anyway, the Railroad Legend 1822. Hello, Hyce. My question, my friend Jack said he sent you a letter and a gift. Did I get it yet? Possibly. I get things from the museum from time to time. If it was some 3D printed little locomotive bits, like boiler cab domes all put together that had a little tray that they sat on, and a letter, I did get it. I did read it just last week at the museum. I don't know how to do the fan mail thing still and like reply back because half the time I don't get a return address or a return name. And see aforementioned, I hate the post office. Maybe we should do a fan mail opening live stream thing or something. I don't know. I don't know how to handle that. That's still very new for me. I did get that if that's what Jack sent me. If he sent me something else, I'm not sure what it would be. I've been sent some random stuff. Somebody sent me a folder full of like drawings that they had done, and there was no name on it, no return address, no nothing. It was just a bunch of drawings and like maps and pictures of trains that were drawn. So I don't know. Maybe I'll try and think about doing it as like a live stream thing that I can show off and do all that stuff as an interaction thing, maybe once a month or something. I don't know. Or you can maybe make it a part of office hours in the future. Mail time, make it a segment. I don't know. That'd be fun. I need to set up a PO box and make it not a burden on the museum though. So we'll get there.
We just got a letter.
Basically.
We just got a letter.
Yep. Mateo quote 7502. How much more music do you think I'm gonna write? I'm writing music all the time. We listened to a new song today. Literally. Like, we listened to, at the start of this stream, there was a new song that I wrote over the past week. I've got an album of songs for myself that's not released. We released a new song for Century Steam today that was written about a year ago, but anyway. We've got a bunch of unseen, unheard Century Steam songs and modified versions of other songs there. I mean, I'm always playing. I just got another new guitar. Like, I haven't written a song on this guitar yet. It's gonna happen. I have a bunch of guitars. I love music, so how much more am I gonna write? A lot. It just happens. I don't like sit down and go, I'm gonna write a song. I sit there and play, and then all of a sudden a song happens. That new song, I was hanging out with Caboose and Goose at Caboose's place, and I had my guitar with me, and then that song popped out of it. Like bits of it. I was like, ooh, this is cool. And then you get in the headspace and you try and come up with something. So that's exciting stuff. So XX73, what do I think about CN's narrow gauge railway in Newfoundland? I know nothing about it. I didn't know there was narrow gauge in Newfoundland. That sounds cool. Highball 5550. I agree with the username. Highball 5550 indeed. The idea was brought up today, yesterday, on your calendar, at the OHRA volunteer session to have a dedicated engine man hats in light of the uniform video recently posted. Could you please expand on some of the styles, or where could more info be found? You like the Wabash design, but you're curious about the other designs potentially. I don't, honest to Christ, know. There is the simple engineer's hat that is kind of like what's on my dick over here. And I mean that wholeheartedly. It's on my dick that Evil Me sent me. This is a more simple... This is my old engineer's hat. I don't like this brand, and it fell apart. So I will not recommend them, but... The simple cap with the band and then the piece of fabric, like the wheel cap we talked about in the video. This design made out of different fabrics, quite typically. According to my friend Josh, who's a much better historian than I, worn by many folks, not just railroaders, but was typically seen with train crews. He also had other hats, and then the Cromer is another famous kind of railroad cap, which is a different style and had different backing behind it. I'm not the right person to ask about those things. I suggest you ask questions in the Discord on that front, and you'll probably get better results from the real historians, honestly. So that video that we did with Haley, I mean, that was Haley putting that video together and having me help present it and take her research and showing it to you guys, because I'm far from a historian, far from an expert on all that stuff. It feels like every time I do it, I get it wrong anyways. So getting that sort of history piece right is kind of challenging. It's not my wheelhouse. My wheelhouse is the mechanics of how these things work, and the history is so tied into it, and it's so interesting, but that's not where my forte lies. So I suggest you chat with some of the wonderful friends of the channel who really know those things. All right, let's see. I heard a couple dings here, so at least one ding. There is. Craig Bryant, back in the days when 3-foot gauge was common sight, what was the longest train ever pulled? For example, 60 rail cars or more. I don't know if there's record of a longest train. I've heard of 70 plus on the Grand before. 70, 75, something like that.
Yeah, I've heard of 60 to 70 empties between Mount Union and Orbisonia before.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you'd ever get like to 100, but close to it. And around Craig Bryant's question, I see LBP or LPB. Will the COS OST be on Spotify at some point? Probably. We haven't discussed that. I'm assuming we will with all those new things when we get there. But at the moment, it is not. So, yeah. And Andrew P., how do you get your Brakeman roll on Discord? Sync your YouTube with your Discord. And then that should work. So,
I was just typing that out.
Well, I beat you to it because I saw it. Alex Bowser, 4778. Hey, Mark, any thoughts on doing the RGS line in open rails? We tried the other day. It didn't work that well. Maybe if we can get it to work, but anyway. Or maybe even perhaps your summer car, my summer car. I'd love to see your shenanigans in Finnish Stress Simulator, plus it has an amazing mod community. We got to do that. Sitz is here. I promised Sitz that we'd do this. I need to make a night of it when I can schedule shenanigans to do my summer car, because that's going to involve imbibing fluids, I think. And I'm trying to be much more responsible about that sort of thing. So it'll have to be an occasion, and then we could do that. But anyway.
Yes, it will. Let's schedule a night to get hammered.
Basically, schedule a night to get hammered and play my summer car on stream. That sounds like a good idea and a bad idea all at the same time. But I think it's gonna be fun. So anyway, that'd be fun. White Star 1222, will you do a video on the different types of fireboxes and boilers, such as water tube, fire, or return flue? I mean, those are the three kinds I'm aware of, other than weird cursed fuck shit that we keep bringing up. At some point I might. I'm not sure. It doesn't seem to come up too often in practical applications of things. So anyway. Joe Pomeroy, what kind of tech do modern day engines have? Also, what kind of length do trains they do nowadays? In terms of tech, I assume you mean locomotives in general. I've got a lot. I've got a lot of tech in them. The high tech stuff is positive train control, which is a ridiculously interconnected system that is considered a vital or non-vital safety overlay. So it doesn't usurp what the engineer does, but can add braking if the engineer misses something or something changes and the engineer can't see. Like someone throws a switch on the main ahead of them that would cause an accident. PTC can slow it down and stop the train, which is a pretty advanced safety system that's always getting more and more advanced and more complicated. And PTC is kind of ridiculous. On the power front, you have Trip Optimizer, which is GE's, formerly GE Transportation, now it's Wabtec, their tech to automatically run the train. The engineer turns on Trip Optimizer, puts the throttle in run 8, and then it manages the trip. It optimizes the trip, theoretically. I have heard at least 6 or 7 Class 1 engineers refer to Trip Optimizer as Trip Sodomizer. So you can see, A, how good it is, and B, what they think of it. Yeah, I don't know quite how smart it is in some ways, but there's that. And then you have the head of train and end of train device, or ETD, with it talk head of train to end of train, so that you know what the rear of the train's doing. You can dump the air, put the train in emergency from the rear of the train remotely via radio. You have distributed power, where you have radios that talk to other locomotives behind you. So you can have a set of locomotives you're running up front, and then you can be separately powering different throttle notches, the locomotives further behind you. You can even have them totally different, where you're cresting a hill, front set of locomotives in dynamic braking, and you're still powering the rear set of locomotives to get the train to get over the crest. All kinds of operational neat things you can do there with the modern tech. And what kind of length trains do they do nowadays? It depends on what cargo is being hauled, where it's being run, all that sort of stuff. But the longest trains I've heard of these days are getting into the 16 to 17,000 foot long region. Precision scheduled railroading, they like longer and longer trains. And those are the biggest I've heard of. I wouldn't be surprised if they've been a little bit bigger than that, but that's 3.5 miles long, which is like 5 or 6 kilometers long for our friends overseas. It's kind of incredible that they're trying to run trains that big, and they're a nightmare logistically, but it's cheaper. So there you go. Anyway. So, good question, Joey. John Doe, JD, our debt collector himself. He doesn't even say, I've got a debt to pay. Yeah. Let's see. What is the difference between a short line versus a branch line? Oh, that's a good question. Is it just location like engineer and driver, or is it a size thing? Second question, if you're given the chance, would you have Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs do an episode on maintaining and operating a locomotive? All right, for the first question. A branch line is a line that branches off of main on any railroad. It doesn't have to be a big railroad, class 1, class 2, anything like that. Branch line is a segment that it trunks off of the main trunk. So it's a branch of a tree where you have the main trunk, or perhaps even rather than a main trunk, you have a grand trunk. I had to stall there for a second to pull up my reverb plugin. So branch line does that. It is a branch. And a short line is specifically a smaller railroad that may be its own branch line off of a different railroad. Like you might have Union Pacific and they might interchange at a Y or something, and the short line operates that. But a short line is a physically small railroad. You would not call UP's branch or BNSF's branch that goes to Coors. The beer run runs from Denver to the Coors brewery, which is apparently ridiculous in terms of how many cars and whatever and the revenue it makes. That is not a short line. That is a branch line. It's not a main track that runs through. It is a branch. It's not a short line because it's not operated by a different railroad. It's operated by the BNSF still. If it was operated by like the Coors Railroad, if they operated that branch, then it would be a short line. The Coors Railroad exists, and it is a short line. It's only within the Coors Brewery. So that's kind of the distinction there. A short line is a smaller railroad, and it may not even be a branch. It might just be its own little encapsulated thing. Like you could think of the U.S. Gypsum Railroad as a short line to some extent, although that's technically still kind of a branch, but it's narrow gauge interchanging with standard gauge, so shrug. But anyway, lots of fun things there. Great question. And then, of course, on the second question, would I have Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs do an episode? Absolutely. I love Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs. He's just a funny person. God, I wish I had... Talk about a great voice. You listen to that man talk, it's just like, oh yeah. I would gladly have Mike come get dirty with us if that was an option one of these days. I don't know if he ever did it. If he ever did like train railroad dirty job stuff. Because yeah, he could shovel out the pit and you'd hate that. So that'd be fun. Anyways, I'm going to get these couple top chats. Then I'm going to have to run use the restroom real quick. And poor Scott and Mick will have to entertain the crowd here. But
oh, it's my time.
It's your time. You're just going to start yelling Fred Burger the entire time. I know you.
of meatloaf. Ha!
Mick's just going to soundboard. There you go. But anyway, Cole Bernardin, maybe? Hopefully I didn't butcher that. Welcome to the Brakeman. And then Train Spotter 454. You saw a video a few months back of Rear Grand 473 blowing a piston out of its steam chest. Do I happen to know the context of it? God, that is a funny video. I've been told the story before. I don't remember the exact context. What I seem to recall it was the engine had a failure of some sort, and they had to get the piston out in general, and it was not unseating from the taper. The piston rod that comes out of the piston that goes to the crosshead has a pretty aggressive taper on it, and it seats with that taper and then a tapered key that goes in there, and they couldn't get the key out to get it moved and all that, and it was not unseating from what I am remembering. And so they wanted to move the locomotive a little bit to get more purchase on where the key was to hammer the key out, and they couldn't get it to unseat at all, so they assumed it would not unseat, and then when they applied a little steam, it went and puked the piston out. And in the longer version of the video that didn't get super cut by most people, that is the one that ends up on the internet, you can hear the mechanical foreman for the DNS, Randy, just go, oh, well, that didn't work. Which is pretty good. So, all right, I'm going to run use the restroom. We'll be right back. Entertain the folks.
Man, such a big responsibility. Just me and Mick have to entertain the audience.
Dead men tell no tales.
Yeah.
Look, man, this is why I have a soundboard. So I can do stupid stuff.
We can just push random. You just keep button
Hello,
mashing
this is
and.
Mike. Doing well. How are you?
Precisely.
If we push a button, does he get like copyright strike? Like if we pick the wrong thing?
Oh, I have some buttons that could copy strike him. Maybe. I
Yeah,
mean, most of them. The soundboard's limited to 5 seconds, so it might be not.
Listen, it's one thing if you get him copyright strike. It's another thing if I do it.
Well, see, I don't think he monetizes the streams anyways, so I don't know. But, I mean, hey, anybody in the audience playing Sea of Thieves? Gotcha.
Everybody's calling for Grand Trunk, but I don't think I have it.
There you go.
Pick.
There's your Grand Trunk. Let's see, what other fun ones do I have?
You hungry yet?
No. There you go.
If you have a parent and you have a child smacking the parent, the child will smack the parent, which is cool.
Funny thing from Khan.
Funny.
That was from an they were talking about scrap mechanic and how the different weld groups interface with each other. I don't think I have a Milwaukee Road soundboard.
No, there's no way we don't. There's like 100% we have this somewhere.
Jersey has it on his proper soundboard, but just in the Discord soundboard, I don't have it. Chat, the birds, you are in charge of the birds, chat. If you want the birds, give members. I don't have that one.
The birds are a fitting reward for a small donation.
A small donation, it's like $150.
It's more than that, but it's okay. I mean, listen, when you give the Santas ringing the bells money out in front of like the supermarkets, that's one thing. But when you give 50 memberships, you get the parade of birds.
So it's only been procced once, but somebody, I think it was John Deerboy, procced the $500 thing. I'm not sure. I don't remember who it was, but there is a $500 one, and somebody procced it once. Let's see. Ooh, I have this one.
I am Awning Man. Parkour! Parkour!
This is this one.
You know, it's a problem for 10 minutes from now, isn't it?
The 10-minute from now problem is like how I live my life. What?
So chat is just a bunch of cockatiel emojis. What did you guys do?
They want the parade of
look
birds.
Look at that! Look at all those dollary dues. Yeah, the parade of birds only happens when somebody gifts 50 members. So
that's what we said.
I hate to break it to you. Nobody's gifted 50 members. So
it's a very good reward for a small donation.
Small donation.
Small asterisk. The fact that so many of them happened last time is absurd, and I'm continuously in debt and honored by the donations that everyone does. So I appreciate you guys. Wusky, hey Hyce.
I have included another link for more side quest, if you want it.
More side quest. Sure.
In MOWVC text.
Oh, it's still Roscoe Montana's Dodge Charger.
Yes.
Oh, he's done a crap ton of work on these things, on that thing. Yikes. Yeah, I've never gotten this far with the GTO. That thing is torn apart. That's doing some really good work, too. Oh, God, you had to cut the quarters out of it. And the fenders? Jesus. And of course it started life as a generally good man for painting it something other than that. They're a dime a dozen, it feels like. I like to see Chargers that aren't generallys. Not to say generally's not cool, but yeah, that's awesome. All right, Wusky, hey, Hyce, can you explain how the mechanic crossed need a conductor stick. Yes, good. Thank you.
Is that the piece of seal?
That's a part of a piston ring from the 491. Nate Talks Cars is here and has understood the assignment. Thank you, friend. Much appreciated. There you go. There's the bird parade. Okay. Now we're getting to Wusky's comment for the third time. This time with gloves. Hey, Hyce, can you explain how mechanical crosshead pumps work, such as the one on Montezuma? Ha! Montezuma didn't have one! Cockatoo sounds. Screams. That was a whole pile of argument. It had an axle pump. It didn't. Yes, it had an axle pump. It didn't have a crosshead pump. And honest to Christ, I do not know how those pumps work other than I assume they have a sliding piston, and as the crosshead goes or the axle goes, it creates head pressure, and it creates enough head pressure to overcome the check valve. That's all I've ever assumed. I don't think it's anything more complicated than that. But yeah, Montezuma did not have a crosshead pump. Certain sources may lead you to believe that it did, but it did not. The spec sheet calls out one underneath. So a pump underneath, not a pump on one side. And when you look at the picture of her from the front, you can clearly see that it is not a crosshead pump, because let me open it up. Here we have the picture of the Montezuma, and we scroll up and in, and we can see the boiler check valve on the fireman's side here, where the mechanical pump goes to, and we can see the pipe, and you can trace the pipe, and it's diving in underneath the boiler at a 45-degree angle right here. And you can also see the fenders for the drive wheels right here. So the pipe either goes in and then does a roller coaster foop-de-doo of much pointlessness to go back around to the crosshead, which is out over here, or it was an axle pump like the spec sheet said. So it's an axle pump. I actually don't know what axle pumps look like. I assume they're kind of more like the based on of an eccentric, kind of like a medical grade pump or something, causing that thing. But anyway, so Coke.
Is that Coke Zero or regular Coke?
It's Coke Zero. I just drink Coke Zero. I have one problem. It's Coke Zero.
See, it's the Christmas skin can.
It is.
So
It's always hard to tell.
which it was.
Still Coke Zero. Look at people asking about whistles for Century Steam. This isn't a Century Steam video. This is
So, comment on that.
yeah.
Do I misunderstand things, or does Hooter 3 chime make no sense?
Nope, doesn't make sense. Hoots are
Okay.
a single
Okay,
note,
good.
and a 3 chime is not a hooter. Those are two different things.
Oh, we could listen to a 3 chime real quick.
You could. That one.
That one.
That one.
I like that one.
I do like that
Is
one
there
too.
such a thing as a 2-chime whistle?
Yes. I have pictures of them. They're weird.
Okay.
I
Is
saw
that
them.
why
I
you
saw
never
them at
hear
the
of them?
place that we will never get a video from. Single tier.
Oh no.
Anyway, let me scroll back and see if I can grab a picture of them. They're the goofiest looking whistle I've ever seen. Just only 2 chimes, and they're like that's just the whole chime. There's no real like languid. They're just a wacky design. So
That is definitely strange.
I'd never seen those before, and then they had so many at this place. What is this place that we're not getting a video from? 6325 Return to Steam. Yeah, sorry. Anyway. Let's see. T12 Productions. Hyce, I'm using one of your quotes as my senior quotes. Are you okay with me using Give It the Beans? I am hardly the person that came up with that, so go for it.
Do you remember who came up with it?
God, no. I've
It
no
was
idea.
Clown.
That's not Clown did not come up with Give It the Beans. That's been
He's
an
the
old
one
man saying
No,
since
no.
before
He
Clown
started
was an
it
old
on
man.
the channel. He started on the channel.
Did he? I don't know.
I
don't
believe
remember.
so.
I don't remember. It's just a saying. It's a thing. It's a thing that gets said. Anyway, Sir Liv, we know you love Railroad Tycoon 3. What about Railroad Tycoon 2? I didn't play that much Railroad Tycoon 2. I had it. I didn't end up playing it near as much as I played Railroad Tycoon 3. I'm not sure what it was about, but anyway. I've got 2 different ranks of questions from Jordan Freeman. Here's the first set. From Jordan Freeman, Commander Sisko or Admiral Janeway? I know neither of these characters. Are they
Where's Armagon when you need him?
new are they Star Trek people?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I know a
was
decent
the
amount
first
of
one?
Star Trek, but
Yeah, what were the characters?
Commander Sisko. I don't know who that is.
I believe that's a Deep Space Nine character. Obviously, Admiral Janeway with Voyager.
Oh, okay, that's her name. I've seen some stuff she was in. So I guess I'd have to pick Admiral Janeway because I actually know who she is. I'd seen some of her the stuff that she was in. But anyway,
I asked the rocket lady that's sitting across the desk from me which Star Trek commander. She said neither because they're not from Next Generation. So
Jean-Luc Picard does hold the keys to my heart. I'm pretty sure. So
I certainly know more TNG than I do anything with
That's
Voyager and DS9.
Blues
so.
Crew says Janeway, so I'm glad that my opinion's backed up here. The real answer is 7 of 9 is the best Star Trek character because you name a bird after it. But anyway, I watched a fair amount of The Next Generation and a fair amount of the original with my dad. So I'm hip with those ones, but I never really watched Deep Space Nine. And I watched a bit of Voyager back in the day.
Sir Luke has a funny comment.
Cisco is the commander on Deep Space Nine, kicks ass, and Janeway was Voyager and is a psychopath. Nice.
Pretty much.
Cool. Good. All right. Second question from Jordan Freeman. Which pirate's character is each of the 3/4 idiots most like? That's a question. I read this question earlier and I don't know what to say. I don't know. I'm not sure who we're most like.
So of the three, who is most like Barbossa?
Brett, I guess. Sure as fuck isn't Leighton.
All right. How about Davy Jones?
I don't know if anyone's evil enough to be Davy Jones. I like to quote him. I think he's fun. And I'm not like actually truly mean-spirited enough to be Davy Jones.
Okay, so Davy Jones is off the table.
I think he's off the table. Captain Jack, I don't know if anyone has that big of main character energy out of all of us. Like, it's
Mr.
hard.
Gibbs?
Mr. Gibbs. I love Mr. Gibbs. I enjoy Mr. Gibbs. It's a good first mate. I don't know if anyone wants like him either. Leighton's one of the comedic relief. Leighton is one of the two British guys protecting the dock that the Interceptor's at. He's the not pirate Pintel and Rigetti. He's the other set of comedic relief. He's one of those two. There's no real ship that can match the Interceptor for speed. He's that one. That's Leighton. That character. Whatever his name is. Although I do like the answer that Brett is Marty, Leighton is Cotton, and I'm Cotton's parent. Oh, goodness. XX73, we actually got yours earlier in stream. I didn't know anything about the Newfoundland narrow gauge, so. Al Perlman is Davy Jones. We like this. Okay, and the last, who's the Pintel and Rigetti of CRRM? Pintel and Rigetti are not all of CRRM because Pintel and Rigetti are just Goose and Jersey.
Yep.
That's just how that works. We're not allowed to take them. It would probably be some of the new Young Bucks, though, otherwise. So, anyway, Marcus Captain Teague. I call upon Captain Teague. Call Midland to start saying things about the code. Anyway. All right. Joey the Cat, what's the situation with Age of Steam? I can't really get into that, unfortunately. They didn't like my video, and they wanted a free video that was going to be really bad. And the amount of work it was going to take to try and produce that for them felt really disingenuous. Like, it was not going to be a production that I would have had a hand in. They were very strange about trying to handle those things. So that was interesting. It was an interesting and unfortunate situation, but that's all I can really say without going into details of other things. The difference in much creative opinions, I suppose, would be the nicest way to say it. So 4 doors, more horrors. My man. Fireman for 10 months. If I could have one locomotive, which one would it be? Have one? Like, own one myself? The Montezuma, because it's small. I can transport it. and like you can actually work on it in a small setting without having, I don't know, a railroad. That's why we're building it. It's easy to take care of. Oh goodness, I managed to back off of the stream page. It's fine. Okay. Stetson C, but probably dumb question. Do railroads run on different railroads? Like, does BNSF run on UP and vice versa? Not a dumb question at all. Absolutely, it's called trackage rights. Yeah. Just south of Denver, we have the joint line, which it was originally Rio Grande and Santa Fe, and now these days it's UP and BNSF, where one railroad owns the northbound main, one railroad owns the southbound main. They're separate alignments. They're not like dual track. They're separate alignments with their own whole things and everything. But UP runs, they both run on both tracks. UP maintains one, BNSF maintains the other, and they have agreements to run on both. For no cost, too, I believe, because it's just basically giving them double track for both railroads, which just makes everyone's logistics easier. I don't remember who owns which track, though. I think BNSF owns the southbound. I'm not sure. Some people who foam more would know better than I. But yeah, that happens all the time. There's other situations where that happens, other trackage right, and all that sort of thing. And Blue Screw, the two British, yes. Leighton would be one of the two British ones. Yeah. Sketchy Wolf, you sent you a sketch on Messenger. Take a look. Keep up the good work. All right, well, if you sent it on Messenger, I could take a peek. Let's take a look. I try not to look at all my DMs and things, the many messages that happen while we're here. And I don't want to dox you, so I'm not going to show your name. But if it'll load, I will show the sketch here. If it loads, it's thinking about loading. There we go.
I did see a comment that asking if Eric would be Governor Swan.
I don't think Governor Swan's the right vibe for Eric. That did make me laugh, though.
I almost feel I only met Eric the one time, but he struck me more as. So we said Leighton was one of the British guys. I feel like Eric would be the other one.
That's probably pretty accurate. Yeah. Okay. This is the sketch from this is awesome from Sketchy Wolf. This is pissed off Hyce the bird and Rico the goat, presumably, running Mama Zuma with a GTO on a flat car and a Caboose 49. That might be over tonnage, my friends. Wouldn't be. It would be fine. But this is very good. I like this. And it's very, like, Disney cartoonified with the stack that's trying to come apart. And, yeah, this sparks joy. But you drew it with a crosshead pump. Minus points. Just kidding. Strong's awesome. Thank you so much, my friend. That's a great sketch. You sent a highlighted comment that I missed. Oh, crap. From XX73. Well, then you have to say it again, because it is gone off of the radar. I'm sorry, my friend. Sometimes the chat scrolls stupid. So. Anyway. Trying to come back down here. Next one. Neil Murphy, 1989. 7 months. Holy cow. Hyce, congratulations on 100K subs. Thank you, friend. Appreciate you. So. Tried your best trying it. No, wait, the drawing's awesome. I'm shit posting about the crosshead pump. Like people don't know about that thing. That's a misnomer thing. You did a great job. That's not something that you could have guessed otherwise. So, Corey Gibson, what is my PC specs? You like to get nerdy with computers? Might be something to put in a FAQ on Discord along with a list of your music gear. We should do that. People have asked a FAQ, and then we can post there. We can post the I don't have a favorite engine.png video. We should do that. Make it so. Make me an FAQ channel. Do it. Do it, Mick. Do it and you're cool.
Another channel.
Another one! Do it!
Why can't we put it in Hyce Stop Leaking Stuff, please?
Because
that counts.
Because no. Blech.
We haven't used that channel in 4 months.
Then delete it. Get rid of it.
I I'm okay with that. We can archive it and bring it back if we need to.
Yes, do that, and then add a thing. But let's see. Off the top of my head, I never remember what the hell the name of my processor is. Let me pull up Sketchy and hope that it pulls up what my processor is. I have. I know that my GPU is a 7900 XTX. I think I'm running 64 gigs of RAM these days because I have a problem, and it's called not having enough RAM. Let's see. It is an Intel CPU on the LGA 1700 platform. I think it's the 13600K i7, I think. I don't remember.
Call it an FAQ or something else?
Let's call it FAQ, yeah. Specky, what is this, 2008? What is there that's better to use? I don't know.
Okay, it exists now.
Thank you, friend. Yeah.
It should have.
It's a 12700K. There you go. So, 12 cores because problems. Yeah. There you go. Is it a high speed?
Discord doesn't always like making channels the way I made it, but it should TM work.
Cool.
It should have the same functionality as Montezuma, so MOW and you can post.
Cool. Excelente. So, XX73s, you posted some pictures of Newfoundland Railway in Fomaritaville if you're interested in what education is required for a job on the railroad engineer conductor range. High school, GED, baby. That's all you need. Let's take a look at Fomaritaville to see what you posted. That's narrow gauge? Oh, that is narrow gauge. That's wacky. That's cool. Steve Chicho. That's cool, dude. Those are neat. The proportions are neat. Like, it looks like it's...
Oh, this is the Newfoundland...
A little shrunk down diesel. 42-inch gauge. That's so cool. I had no idea CN actually had... Oh, this is actually really neat.
Yeah, they would bring in standard gauge cards and swap the trucks out, then move them around. That was the interchange.
Huh. Yeah, those look like standard gauge hoppers and everything. Wacky. That's cool. Thank you for sharing. Gotta be caught up on that. Okay. A101A6. What's your favorite obscure railroad? Ideally a railroad with very limited information available about it. Also, what are my thoughts on the new build RGS 440? Favorite obscure railroad? I mean, I gotta live with my man Spinoto, and I have to say the Porterfield. Because, what the fuck, over? The Porterfield and Ellis. 20% grades. Running 440s at 100 miles an hour through a valley just to yeet up the other side. What? That's batty. There's not much known about it. There's only a couple pictures of it, too. So, love that. Love that one. And the new build RGS 440, super cool. Excited to see it done. Hopefully sometime soon. It is a neat thing. Some interesting choices about like the diesel compressor and the tender as a thing to do stuff. Okay, like I get the desire behind it. It's a little strange. I'd be concerned about lubrication, but details. It's fun. Middletown Branch Productions, which is my favorite engine at the museum to drive and fire, and why? I like them all for different reasons. Sorry. No favorites. 491 super fun to run because it feels like you're moving a building. Superheated throttle provides challenges without the superheat and everything. The delay is interesting. 20 is awesome because she's a fight. Like, you have to be a kick-ass engineer to run that engine well, and she's timed just chef's kiss perfectly, so you can run the bar super high, and you can really run with the bar. So cool. 346 is the first engine I got to run. She's the reason I'm at the museum. Feels a lot like 20. Will feel a lot like 20 when rebuilt. Just less slippery. but still just a fun engine to run. Firing, 20 and 346 fire about the same, and they're fun and they're dynamic and fast. And then 491's fun because it's a big box and you got to be really accurate with where you hit. So it's like, they're all fun. I like them all for their different things. It's like the guitars. This guitar and this guitar, other than looking very different, I use for very sonically different purposes. I love them both. This one is a custom Novo that I got done last year with the P90s. It is timbrely fantastic. Very different sound to this Les Paul. This Les Paul is one of the prettiest guitars I've ever seen in my life. I love them both. I don't have a favorite between them. I use them both for different things. I appreciate them for their differences. So that's typically how I look at stuff. I don't tend to have too many favorites, and I'm not even making the excuse that one of them would get mad. They would get mad, but that's not even the reason. So scrolling up, checking top chats here. King of Comedy. This may be a hard to answer question, but how did Pirates of the Caribbean become a big thing with all you guys? Also favorite and least favorite Pirates movie. It became a thing because I just like won't let it go as memes. I just keep inserting it in because I just quote shit all the time, and I just keep quoting pirates. And I've watched the Pirates movies pretty frequently, couple times a year. Although I have actually watched Curse of the Black Pearl twice in the last 2 weeks because I had a date and we watched it.
Oh, that's why I didn't get invited. Oh well.
And then the second time, Tristan was in town and he's like, "We're watching Pirates," and I'm like, "Okay." I just watched it the other way, but I love those movies. So,
why is the rum gone?
But why is the rum gone? It's true. Favorite? It's hard to pick in the original trilogy of the three. They're all so good. The end sequence in the third one with the Maelstrom and Beckett being evil and Davy Jones being Davy Jones, so good. The second one, the sword fights and the whole sequence on the cannibalistic island, it's just so over the top. I love it. And then the first one is like probably the best like total film as one film, as a concise story, right? Because they obviously shot the second and third together. So probably I can't pick one of those three. I love all three of them because the first one doesn't have fucking Davy Jones in it, man. Like,
Honorable mention to the locker.
honorable mention to the locker as well. That sequence, that's an acid trip. You love it.
It's great. My peanut.
So the least favorites are actually, it's probably the most recent one. Because as good as Salazar, Javier Bardem being the bad guy, good bad guy, creepy premise and everything, fun, like, but I can never remember his name. The dude that played Blackbeard, his voice is like one of my favorite voices all time. And then the shit posting of them being privateers and whatever is kind of fun. So there's some fun things in the fourth one, although they definitely, like, the fourth and fifth one, it felt like they totally lost their way. So, but the first three, excellente. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, there you go. Jacob Pfeiffer, has the museum, or will the museum restore Rio Grande 3011? You have a good friend who actually has a photo of it leading a train back in the day. We did restore it. Have you not seen it? You mean restore to operation. See, I see that's what you mean. You don't mean restore, you mean restore to operation, which no, it is missing so many bits. Omnitrax said, look at all these nice bits. We want these for our other trains. Here, museum, take this Hulk. It looks really pretty now. It's missing a lot of bits.
Google says
so,
Ian McShane.
That one.
For Blackbeard.
The exciting thing that I found out, and I'm gonna, like, when Polar is done, I'm going to barge down Paul Hammond's office to make this happen now. The 5401, the tunnel motor, at the end of the video about the tunnel motor that I did a couple weeks back, I was like, maybe we'll get it to run. I've always, like, thought it wouldn't be too hard to get to run. It ran in 2009. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. It looks, from a casual glance, looks like it's in pretty good shape. I bet we could get it to run if we wanted to. And we've kind of leaked jokes about it and whatever. I put that video out and put that little call out to it. And I was at the train show this past weekend. And this guy who I've chatted with before, I actually met him at the UP Fuel Track when I was hanging out with my buddy Brad who worked for UP at the time, and met him there, a gentleman named Alan, who was at Burnham and worked at Burnham and then was later management at the field track. Old head off the Rio Grande. And he grabs me and he's like, that was a nice video you did. And he goes, you know why we picked 5401, right? And I go, no, what do you mean? I didn't quite pick up what he's talking about. And it turns out he was the guy that picked which locomotive was going to get donated to the museum. And they went through all of the SD40T-2s that were there, and they picked the best one and made sure it ran before they laid it up to get donated. Which means that 5401 was a clean, good runner, the best of the crop, when it got donated in 2009, when UP was getting rid of him. And we have confirmation of that now. So, let's go fucking run the 5401. Like, I had that conversation, I was like, oh yeah, we like that, let's do that. So, hopefully that
dual gauge
that could be a thing. Jeff Taylor's ears just started burning somewhere. He does not want to dual gauge the loop. I understand why he doesn't want to dual gauge the loop. God, but it would run around it. It would be so cool. We could at least run it, put it in load test, put it on the turntable, and really make the neighbors know what pain means. So, yeah.
Would it fit on the turntable?
Yep. 75-foot turntable. Phil Snowman, welcome to the ES&D Conductors. Thank you. Corey Gibson, Pee-wee is the best engine at the museum. Yes and no. Pee-wee is a very necessary, wonderful, great locomotive. We like that choo-choo. I don't know if you could say one is best or one is not. Pee-wee couldn't pull the trains we need, but we also couldn't do what we do at the shop without Pee-wee. We'd find a way with something else. The DNS doesn't use a switcher. They use a front-end loader with a coupler welded to the pocket of the front-end loader. So, shrug. Anyway. So, Katana, what does FAQ stand for? Frequently asked questions. So, things that people ask. Like, what's my favorite train? Don't have one. We can answer those things and then talk about the gear and whatever. And cameras and whatever and all that jazz. And what is the Porterfield? Somebody get Spinotto. Somebody get me pictures of the Porterfield in Ellis. I don't know if I Google it, if it'll work.
Is that the bowl one where they had to?
Yes.
Okay.
The one that had the 20% grade. Oh,
With the Americans?
Yes. Where they ran 4 furrows 100 miles an hour across the bowl. Yeah. This crap. Yep. Just okay, bye. Okay, we go down the hill now. Toodles. Like, they literally said, okay, rather than spiraling down into this valley and coming back up or bridging it, 20% grades on either side, and just put the throttle on the ceiling.
Up. 20% was only on one side. There was a mile-long run up to it.
Sorry.
It was a 17 on the other side.
Okay. Casual.
We have to make sure we get the facts straight.
No. Let's see. What's already been mentioned about the Peony? Just stupid grade?
Stupid grade.
4
4 4.0s, 100 mile an hour through the bowl.
Yeah, 18. They had 4 locomotives that Spinotto and I know of. 2 440s and a 460, all ex-Milwaukee Road, all from the 1880s.
Okay.
And a Shea.
That seems like a mistake.
The 2 440s and the 460 were the ones that typically ran the loops, which is where the stupid grades were.
Okay.
And they ran those fuckers so fast and so hard that they had to bank the fire before the runs, or else it would start sucking, like it would suck the shovel out of the fireman's hand. It would start sucking fuel from the tender as a sort of hellish early form of an automatic stoker. And they had to actually, like, close the cab off with these specialized cab curtains, or else the coal would still be sucked from the tender into the into the cab.
That's some draft. Bad. That's some draft right there. Yeah.
Yeah, they typically made the mile-long run in about a minute, which is about 60 miles an hour. There was one time that they timed the run at 34 seconds, which works out to be about 105 miles an hour. In a 440 that's only 5 years older than the Eureka.
Newer, but yes.
Or 5 years younger. Got my dates backwards.
Yep. There you go. That's why it's my favorite. Fuck shit. Think of the fuck shit. We need to do a video about
And
that.
the
And
grade is
TAM.
the grade is remarkably well preserved. Spinotto and I actually managed to trace the entire thing on Google Maps.
I'm glad. I'm so glad.
And I did my civic duty. I marked the grade as a place on Google Maps.
I'm just
As a
doing my
place of
civic
historic
duty, sir.
interest.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, Spinotto actually has the interview, and he could read off some excerpts of it when he gets back from enjoying his fresh baked bread.
Good. Good. Nicholas Downs, let's get this clear. The engines do not get driven. If they were driven, they would have a PhD in irritation. Yes, you run or operate a locomotive. You do not drive it. We're not in Britain. Michael and Bessie, this may be hard to answer, but was there ever an American narrow gauge engine that was bigger than a mainline British engine of the same time period? Yeah, 491 being bigger than everything that Britain has ever run. There you go. I mean, at least in width. More powerful than almost everything as well, save for that crazy LMS Garrett and then the P2, pretty much. There might be a couple others, but more powerful than most locomotives that ran in Britain. So, yeah, many narrow, at least 10, at least 20. K36s and K37s both. So. Arctic Revival. Do you plan on doing more day-to-day? Thank you, YouTube, for jumping down. Do I plan to do doing more day-to-day vlog-style content? Would I consider doing it more often? I would love to see you fire up 20 and machine more things and do more in the shop. Thanks, Birdman. It's interesting to try and do that sort of content. That stuff's kind of challenging to try and do. For one, with my agreement with the museum, I can't be paid at the museum and be filming at the same time. And when I am filming, doing those things, it really takes me away from actually performing the task that I'm trying to do. It's hard to film those things and also get stuff done. So that's been a challenge with trying to do the more vlog style sort of stuff. And then those videos are hit or miss in terms of performance. So it's kind of like, it's harder to not do it with no narrative really, or without a narrative. They're neat videos. Like, I enjoy them and I like making them, but I mean, it's something that I have to have the right time to do. Because what it basically means is I have to go in extra days at the museum, which takes away from times to do stuff for YouTube or Century of Steam or everything else that goes on, right? And I'm eternally too busy. We talked about how I'm not getting Little Engines, Big Men stuff done. And so it's like, okay, well, do we want to add more stuff for a not so sure piece of video content or something? And then half the time when it's like, oh, we're going to fire up 20, it's like, there's new apprentice people who it makes more sense to teach them to do than for me to do it again and then do it as a piece of content. Like, it's more valuable to teach the next generation in person how to do it. So it's a balanced thing. I'm sure there will be more, but they're going to be kind of few and far between as they've been. So Katano, so the Glacier Gulch from Polar Express, basically. As close to that as you can get. King of Comedy, weird question. If you're going to run an American loco in the UK, which would you choose? One that would fit, which would be a very, 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 very old one. Loading gauge, that's what we're talking about. The British loading gauge is very tight. So most of our engines wouldn't even fit over there. That's the challenge. So. Yep, so.
I have arrived with the Spinotto.
Uh-oh. We're here for Porter posting. Porterfield posting. People are asking what my favorite obscure railroad that there's not too much info about is, and I had to pick the Porterfield because it's the fucking Porterfield.
Yes.
Because that is just the madness that I am here for. So
it is so wonderfully goofy. It is It is the what if we just built straight up a mountain railroad.
I'm here
Or
for it.
Made God, what was the grade in the Polar Express?
179%. The Glacier Gulch. Yeah.
Yes, Glacier Gulch, but IRL. I'll grab some photos.
Yeah, if you've got
but-
bigger photos, I found the website and saw a couple, but yeah.
All right, I do have some good photos. Let me grab them real quick. And here we go. So here is the engine that they did. That one of the engines they ran. They had two 1880s 440s. I believe a 460 and a Shay. The Shay never did the crazy grades because they needed speed.
I was gonna
get up the
say,
grades.
seems like a mistake.
Yeah, but that is one of the engines. And I'll grab photos of the grades. So, first photo that is going in, I believe to be the Rosso Loop grade was the name. Which was the first of the crazy grades. This one, I believe, was between 15 and 17% in terms of steepness.
It just looks so wrong.
It does not compute, does it? It looks so bad. Oh, I wish there was video of this railroad. I have a close-up, which also has really cool context, actually.
It also looks like that's like itty bitty tiny rail. Like that looks like it's 50-pound rail or less.
Yeah, it doesn't look like much.
A reminder that the Pikes Peak cog is only 5% steeper than the Porterfield.
Yeah. Cog railway? No, send it railway.
The send it. Here is another photo, and there is some really interesting context that I can give regarding this specific photo
Okay.
of the Porterfield and Ellis. So there is an interview that exists with one of the engineers that ran on this railroad.
Okay.
A Gerald the Hutt, if memory is serving me right. Was his
Memory
name.
would serve you correct.
Excellent. He spoke of several really interesting things about when they were running. The most incredible of which was the draft. Which is where this photo comes in, because you'll notice there are really heavy canvas tarps on the back of the cab, right behind the engineer there. Those were put in place because it is inferred in the interview that the draft got so strong through the engine that just everything in the tender would get sucked forward through the engine, and so they had to bring that up to stop getting hit in the back of the head when they'd be running at full speed. There's also stories of the draft being strong enough to suck shovels out of the firemen's hands, so they had to bank the engines before each run up and down the loop.
So, draft sucking things out of the tender, I don't believe. Going down to 20% grade with a loose load of coal, going down fuck shit railroad and getting coal thrown at you, I do believe. Fire trying to suck the scoop out of your hands, I believe. Firing up Cumbres on a K36, you go to do the back corners of the firebox, and you turn the shovel sideways, you get that whole profile exposed to the draft. It feels like someone violently trying to rip it out of you. And so going that fast, presumably wide open, ridiculous, probably even more than that, particularly, they're probably a keyhole firebox. Yeah, keyhole little firebox, wagon top 440. I mean, yeah, I'm sure that tightens the draft even further. So I believe that. I don't believe that the coal is trying to get sucked out of the tender. That's a little horse shit, because you have a fire door and then things and words.
Yeah.
But anyway,
It definitely sounded a little bit out there. I'm grabbing some more photos. But the interview is wild. The interview states the mile-long run-up before the insane grade took anywhere between 50 and 60 seconds most runs. So they were doing about 60 miles an hour in these ancient locomotives. but Gerald the Hutt very specifically mentions that the fastest loop they ever ran was supposedly 34 seconds over the mile-long gap before the big grade, the river loop grade, which is the 20%, which is the which are the photos I just posted. That's the river loop grade. Yeah, that mile-long run before that, allegedly in 34 seconds, which if Auntie and I have mathed it out correct, is 105.8 miles an hour. I don't think it did that. That little 440 probably was stressed to high hell doing that. But
those are decent sized drivers. They're not that big. That's scooting.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I don't doubt that they were going really fucking fast, but
oh yeah, they were going fast enough that there is an instance of a rod snapping and the cab just getting sheared off the engine.
Yikes.
And somehow everybody survived that. But there is an instance of the cab just being shredded by a rod that had snapped. And,
Yeehaw.
And yeah, you know they're going speed and like working that thing to within an inch of its life, because the photo of the engine, like, there's visual indications of some weird stuff, like the notch in the plow over the rail.
Yeah.
So that sounds like they hit the rail at times.
Not surprised when you're talking about getting up to a 20%. So yeah.
But oh yeah.
What a crazy railroad.
It's fun. I can send over the interview if you'd like to read it. It is hilarious.
I think we ought to save that one for a video. We need to do the TAM and we need to do the Porterfield.
TAM, Porterfield. There's some good railroads. The Diamond and Caldor is another really funny one if you've heard of that one. There's so many good railroads.
Yeah, we need
crazy railroads.
We need to do those things. So, anyway, I am running out of mental brain power to stay focused here. So I'm gonna hit the last of these top chats, and I think we're gonna jump off for the evening. As always, we'll get to the rest of the pre-asked questions when we get back around for the next month in December, of course. And then, of course, as well, reminder, I believe the Minecraft stream is going to end up being tomorrow or Saturday, whichever works better for folks.
Possibly next week.
Possibly next week? Or if we're having problems, then not this week. But
so, Auntie and I are in somewhere of the later stages of grief. Auntie for different reasons than me.
Oh no, my reasons have been rectified.
Oh really? Are
Yep.
my reasons rectified too by the thing that Brill sent? I haven't tested that yet.
If you test it and it works, then yes. I have not touched any of your stuff because I don't want to break anything.
Well, no, I was testing it in creative because anyways, things broke. I have a turntable that is currently non-functional. It was working. But earlier before the stream it decided to delete my locomotive into little bits and bobs, and now I have to rebuild it. And I was very, very sad.
That is unfortunate. We don't like it when it does that.
Yeah. The thing that happened after that is I went to go upgrade it, because I needed to do that anyways in creative mode, and one of the bogies wasn't rotating correctly. And my little 242 doesn't look right if it doesn't have the bogie rotated correctly.
Right.
So imagine if the trailing truck decided to live inside the driver and then you couldn't get it out.
Yeah, that's not ideal. Okay, well then Minecraft stream next week. We're gonna figure out some crap and we'll not schedule it.
Yeah.
So next week on that, and then maybe we'll
so.
just do a second Montezuma Monday. We'll do a Montezuma Thursday or Friday or something. I'm running Polar Fridays, so it won't be Friday, but maybe we'll do another Montezuma stream this week. So whatever. That'll be coming up. But let's take a look at these top chats here and we'll get out of here. Neil Murphy, 1989. If I have an opinion on it, what do I think about how they're running 611 on the Virginia Scenic Railroad and Buckingham branch? I'm super happy that 611 can run at a place that is more interesting than Strasburg. Strasburg's not a bad railroad by any means, but it's hardly a place for a big high step in 484 to be putting around at slow speeds. So I don't know if it's running fast on Virginia Scenic Railroad, but I just know it's a different place, so I can hope and dream. Arctic Revival, we did it. Welcome to Fomarita, Maryland farmers. Beautiful. And you made it 6 months as a brakeman. And then Ahsoka Tano, what did I say? Speed. Very good. Pacific Sean, good afternoon, Hyce. A few days ago, an engineer friend you met took CT-273 out for a test run. The fusible plug melted, but the boiler was not short of water at that time. Everyone was thinking why. Interesting. The quick guess would be, were the water measuring devices tested and accurate and functioning properly? No plugged sight glasses that would be leading you to believe that it was full of water when it was not. And if it was short on water, there's a chance that the plug may have scaled over significantly enough to prevent the plug from cooling down by having, because the water can't get to it, and then it melted. That would be the possibility if the water measurement devices are okay, which is why on annual inspections here in the US, we have to remove all boiler plugs and the fusible plugs and inspect them. That said, I've never seen a locomotive in the States that has one. I know that there are some that do, but they're not super common. So, yeah, those would be the things that I would think and look towards. Because I have heard of pretty bad scaled boilers causing glowy stay bolts and things in stories from people in the past. So
it could also just be a defective plug. I
also true.
Think there was like a run of bad plugs a couple of years ago when we were working on a fusible plug problem we had, and it brought up like, did you buy it from this place between this time? It's like, no. It's like, well, it rules out this bad run, I guess. So
interesting. Okay, and then Ahsoka Tano, only way to know it is test it and restore it on the main line. Yeah, we gotta test the Porterfield draft thing according to Ahsoka Tano. So let's relay the track, dig up an ancient 440 and go for it.
I mean, the entire right-of-way is still there. You can follow it. I actually mapped out the whole thing, funnily enough.
That's awesome. Edwards Rail Productions going back to the 1900s. There, you gotta love it. All right, that is... oh, there's still one more top chat. Here we go. Last top chat here, unless another one pops in. Molden House, how difficult would it be to start a new scenic/historic railroad with steam? Pretty difficult. Not impossible, but pretty difficult. You gotta have a right-of-way, or you gotta have track, which it's not easy to relay unless you have right-of-way. And then if there's already right-of-way, restoring it to a condition where you can run trains on it. It's not a small amount of work, but it's not a huge amount of work. And then, of course, you're talking about building shops and facilities for steam locomotives, and that just takes a lot of time and money. So it's a possibility, but it's definitely not a simple thing. So yeah, very expensive to lay new to right-of-way. That is very true. If you're not using an existing right-of-way that like you just need to get rights for, it's not impossible. It's very true. Try getting a bunch of land in line in a straight line or in a railroady line. It's pretty difficult. So anyway, folks, that's going to be all today. Like I said, my brain is just like today. So I'm going to jump off. We'll call it there. Thank you so much for the top chats, super chats, the fun questions, and the discourse. As always, we'll be doing another set of office hours, of course, in December, and look forward to probably another Montezuma stream later this week. So thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you all next time.
Woo!